how are the rest of the continents saying they're seeing the sun above them? Like, it doesn't make sense.
And you're right, it doesn't sound like it would be feasible, but if you think about, there's only a very limited amount of time, in the South that you're going to get continual, 24-hour sun.
Do you know how long?
Well, if you take and
Do you
from
know
their
how
location.
long? Do you know how long the globe and how long the 24-hour sun and the globe claims it's there? Months, 3 months.
Well, yeah, the only
limited.
the only analemma I've found any credible analemma photographs are 3 months tops.
Yeah, there's a 24-hour sun there every day for months.
Okay, if you would show me that, I would buy it. Like I would, I would believe you more if I seen it. Like, I guess.
So for you, the level of evidence needs to, for someone to be there for the whole 3 months now instead of just a day.
Well, yeah, I think because that's the only time anyone has seen any footage from, from flat Earthers or globe Earth is 1 day.
That's not true. Have you
You
looked
got
at
multiple different videos.
Have you looked at all the footage I found before they even went? Did you think TFE sign people went to Union Glacier? I found footage going all the way back to 2013 of the sun in the south from Union Glacier.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a 24-hour sun footage from Union Glacier before they even went. And there's the famous solar eclipse from 2021 where the sun is actually eclipsing behind that southern mountain. There's tons of footage from Union Glacier before TFE even landed there of the sun in all positions, as it would be on either a dual pole planar Earth or a globe.
Right, from Union Glacier.
The ones I'm mentioning are all from Union Glacier. There's also footage from McMurdo. There's footage from other places in Antarctica too.
I got you. No, I was just going off of this time. I wasn't thinking about. Wasn't thinking about other footage yet. It was just the 1 day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that I know you may be in the camp of people that think TFE was like the only footage from there, but people have been going there for years and years. So if you go to YouTube or Vimeo or start put in Union Glacier, you'll find vloggers and bloggers and people doing skydiving, and there's the marathon that they run. There's a running marathon that they do every year. There's a lot of footage out there from Union Glacier. It's not just TFE.
I got you. I'm just going off of the launch stuff and the the Latin long position of where this took place, right?
So because NASA launched balloons, you think they put a fake sun in the sky? That's the link you made?
No, I see that the technology they used and what they were doing with that payload, I guess, and the type of balloon. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're huge, like huge.
So you think they made a balloon go 1,000 miles an hour and circle around them?
No,
a balloon.
Put words in. Oh no.
Well, the sun's going 1,000 miles an hour. So you're saying that they made a balloon go 1,000 miles an hour and circle them, and look like the sun?
No, I'm saying what footage and date that I could find, and the upgrades and things that were done right before TFE is I don't know. It's just strange to me, and no one's ever mentioned it. But yeah, I do think there were high energy tests being done at 120. I think they said right at 120,000 feet, and that it was a long duration mission, or however you say it, mission or experiment. And I've just never seen or heard of that type of technology and what it's capable, of harnessing. But no, that's just it's just something I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. That did think that there was something sketchy about TFE, and I'm looking at no other things that went on before that or after. I'm just using that time scale.
That is the question you're insinuating, though, right? Is that the sun whatever they saw was not legitimate?
I'm saying everything that people found out that was a little fishy with it could make sense with this new evidence and new time scale and stuff like that. So, not saying it's 100% that is exactly what happened, but there are a lot of weird things going on down there that, like the guy just mentioned, Eric Hecker, talks about these type of tests that these DOMs aren't only receiving information, they're also transmitting. And on a couple of those slideshows the PowerPoints and none of that's my work. I'm just using what the colleges and what NASA have documented, and then using that as it is a way of, using that type of technology, I guess you would say, to emit something that could be looked at from the ground as a sun.
Yeah, but again, the same questions would arise whether or not they saw a fake sun or not. The rest of the Earth would see the real sun. So I don't.
Sure. I think north of where they were at, I do think this is just me though. No, I do think they got down there just in time for the sun to not light up the western part of, well, what the globe would say was the western part of Antarctica. And that,
I'm not following what you're saying. You're saying they saw the sun for 24 hours simultaneously while someone else somewhere else also saw a sun. So
I mean, you'd have to tell me how far north that this someone is from Union Glacier and where they launched the balloons. So, like, if
I'm
you're
not
speaking
sure
of, like, say the southern part of South America, before it goes over to Deception Island there, in the south. Let's say on the 14th, the day they said that, they recorded the sun, and let's just say the 14th could be there's a terminator line there, maybe that only South America, the tip of South America, you know what I mean, got, and then everything north of them.
You're positing that the real sun just doesn't reach Antarctica, and they had their own sun there.
No. That time of year, it wouldn't. You're asking how it could work. I'm just saying maybe all the way up until December 14th, it was a portion of a day of sun in Union Glacier, but maybe there's never 24-hour sun in what they call Union Glacier. Maybe there is. I don't know. Never been there. I'm just kind of giving evidence that maybe people had questions, that doubted. Now maybe they can take those 16 pieces of documented stuff and do more research. I feel like I've explored a lot already on to get to that point, and I just never heard anyone else say, "Hey, look, they did launch this here. There was documentation of this here. Here's the type of technology. Here's the type of next generation balloons. They upgraded, the DOMs in the South Pole Station, and maybe they eliminated some things. I don't know, but it just seems like, I didn't hear about it from anywhere else, and it's kind of weird to me. But that's that. I mean, no, like argument or fight or me trying to pull one over on anyone. I just figure people should see that, and take a look at it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, whether or not I agree with it or not, I mean, I can appreciate the thought, right? You're thinking,
Yes, sir.
I can appreciate that. So.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I don't, I just, these little things kept adding up, and I was like, okay, let me ask, people that, probably were in the know more than me. Let me ask and see what they think. And sorry if anyone's typing in a chat. I've been, talking. It's hard for me to pay attention, but yeah, if y'all have any questions, I would say, just, yeah, man. Oh, and one other thing, before I eat, there are like bukus of, sources and citations that I haven't even had time to get to yet. That, I was using some AI help, and they gave me lots and lots of other avenues to look down. So there is quite a few more things that I haven't even got to yet, which may help, in the case of.
All right. So your theory is that they put up balloons and fake the sun. Is that your theory? Is that what you're saying ultimately?
I mean, in a way, I think that the technology I'm looking at and the research I've done can do some pretty spectacular things with these ultra high energy neutrinos in the upper atmosphere. So I think it could be possible that NASA may have been like, hey, look, there's TFE, and everyone's attention was on Union Glacier, but right over the mountain range there at these Latin Long launch location is just a little suspect to me. So, but the technology, yeah, I do think since I didn't see any zoomed in footage, like super close sun filter footage that from the ground, I think that they may have possibly had one pulled over on them, at no one's expense though. I'm not saying anyone that was involved with TFE did this intentionally. That's not what I mean. But
do you know what the sun does when it goes south of the equator? Do you know how it arcs the other way and it does make concentric circles around the North Pole?
Right, like it goes to Capricorn, is the furthest south. I think that it's like a
but are you aware
right?
that the sun arcs towards the south when it goes south of the equator?
does it arc? Say it one more time. Let me hear one more time. I'm trying to get in my mind what you're saying. Okay, one more time, please.
Well, can you look in the chat?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm not looking here, but let me go to my phone. I'm trying to understand exactly in my mind. Like, okay, hold on, I'm looking. Okay, yeah. So
That's
I'm
just
looking.
star trails from the equator, but I added the lines on it. You notice how
Mhm.
in the upper right, that's the northern part. So when the sun is north of the equator, it arcs towards the North Pole. When the sun goes south of the equator, it starts arcing the other way towards the South Pole, which is the 24-hour sun effect in the south, meaning it doesn't do concentric circles the way the AE map claims. So for some reason,
Right,
people
it's
got turned on to flat Earth, and then they attached to the AE map as if that was like the answer. And I personally think that's just deception 2.0. People got deceived a second time by the controllers, and then they rolled out this 24-hour sun thing to make a fool of everybody, and they kind of worked a little bit. But the sun arcs the other way in the south. It doesn't do concentric circles around the North Pole. So the sun rises, like if you're in the south, it rises south of east and sets south of west. So it's already making that arc towards the 24-hour sun effect in the south. I just wondered if you knew that.
Mhm. I yeah, I get where you're saying. Do you know what location this? I know you said equator, but can you tell me where on the equator this was taken from and what direction you were looking? I'm trying to follow along where, like in my mind's eye, I'm trying to see if, like, if you're in Ecuador or like Brazil versus middle of Africa kind of equator.
That looks like maybe like 20 degrees of latitude, plus or minus the equator. And the way I could tell that is because over the equator, that straight yellow line would go directly over the equator.
Right.
And
Okay.
at the equator, you'll see both concentric circles at your horizon, with the Polaris basically at one horizon, and on the other horizon would be the southern axis of rotation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took this image of
Go ahead.
I took this of an electric field, and I just drew all the crazy lines on it, stars at the equator. But see the one that says 24-hour sun in Antarctica? See how those black arrows are all arcing the other way? They're arcing towards the south. It's exactly what the sky does.
I got you.
So
and
the
I'm
sun
glad
is
you put
already
this.
it's already indicating the 24-hour sun in the south pattern and not concentric circles around the North Pole. The sun does not just constantly go around the North Pole. It just doesn't. It's a deception. We were lied to a second time. It'll take some time for people to get in aware of that. The Earth is planar and stationary, but it is not the AE map.
Right, I got you. I'm following. So I'm glad you put this second picture because, like, if you're on the equator, that purple line being vertical, like perfectly, 90 degrees zenith. So that would be you would be perfectly looking due west. If you follow me there, that's where we get the owl eyes. And the more that you travel toward Capricorn, say, so you're looking at the AE map, not the two-dimensional flat AE map, but with with an overarching dome, right, or firmament. If you think of it in that manner, right, and then it would be, there wouldn't be as much sun in the south. It wouldn't be equidistant. In other words, like going up and down during the season, traveling up toward Cancer instead of like on the AE map. Jaron would look at it like you're just going right toward the North Pole and left toward the south, but he forgets that you have to go up and down at the same time. So I think in the south that you would never get as much 24-hour day, as many, let me put it that way, as many 24-hour Sundays as you would the north, like 6 months. So it's hard for me to say that there would be no way to fake it. I just think at some certain point in the south that it would come back quicker toward the equator, traveling wise, like it would speed up in a way. That way you would be able to cover the distance in the south. Does that make sense? Like, but I do think that yeah, there is a 24-hour sun at a very minimal amount though. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what I'm bringing to the table. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in hearing more though about you saying when you were saying when you were mentioning about that we have a misconception, that we were steered, that false dichotomy kind of thing. That sounds interesting for sure. But I'm gonna mute up for a second and get me a drink of water because my mouth is dry as shit. I will be right back.
The other thing for any kind of fake sun to be done is that even with the AE map idea, the sun would be at like 34 degrees elevation when the sun is passing in the north. Like let's say from 80 degrees south, the sun would be at like 34 degrees, and it would like pass from your northeast to your northwest on the AE map idea. Like if it was just circling the North Pole. So like Anchovy said, for what he was saying, you'd have to like, if they were to make a fake sun there, they would have to put like a massive wall or something to like block the real sun, because they saw a totally different arc path. Like they didn't see being on the outer rim of a sun that's circling the North Pole. They saw a sun that's circling them in the South Pole. So it rose from 34 and then went down to 13 up to 34, and it's making a circle. So like there's no way that a sun making a path on the AE map idea which would be rising north of east and setting north of west, which is not anything that they saw. So even to do a fake sun at 80 south, you'd have to like put a wall, like some massive wall that would go up like, I don't know how tall the wall would have to be. I guess it depends on how high the sun is, but it would have to be an incredibly high wall. I guess if you're from the ground, technically the angle would have to just make it to where it would block it, and it would have to like block all of the entire sun. That would be like the only like conceivable idea, but you'd have to somehow block the real sun, like Anchovy said.
Yeah, it makes me think of those. You guys have seen that like cloth that's where it brings the image of what it's seeing behind it around to the front and makes it look invisible. It makes me think of stuff like that. Like, they could, like you say, like if it would have been low on the horizon or something, the real sun coming around, and you already like pre had your ground location, your ground angle pointed in the direction of when you wanted it to switch out. You know what I mean? Like, and you could have had it lined up perfectly. I don't know. It's like, I don't want to overthink it, but let me tell you my favorite part though, guys, is that the scientific name for this owl, like Bohemian Grove owl, it's like its mascot, right? The Project Puyo, Pueo, and Anita, that was its sister. They were both upgraded, so they went up in pairs. But check this out. It was an owl was its mascot, and guess what its scientific name is? Osseo Flames, Flames. Osseo Flames, like fire in the sky flame. Anyway, I thought that was pretty weird too. Like, it's just a weird set of coincidences, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the skepticism, but as far as the sun goes, I can't even fathom a deception about the sun, because either there's so many people who know where it's supposed to be and know that it comes every day, and I just don't see how you can fool that.
I mean, good point. It would be a big undertaking, I'm sure, and there would have to be like the staff and stuff would. Wouldn't necessarily have to be involved, but and this was the very first time that NASA did a launch from Antarctica, which was another weird thing.
When I looked at the link,
let me mute up because you were glitching there a little bit.
Oops, I cut out. You hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when I looked at the link you put, it says that it's which number was it? Like number 16 or something? The one from 2000. I think it said 2024. It said that they were returning. So
returning
to Antarctica.
And NASA claims to have been launching balloons from Antarctica since the 90s.
Yeah.
Really?
So I'm not sure why you think this is the first one.
Yeah, that's just what it said. I'm pretty sure.
I'm looking right
Maybe from that
here.
location. Maybe from the West Antarctic ice sheet. Maybe that's what it is.
Well,
It's
this
like I
one's
guess
from.
people that got sold hard on the AE map that like need the 24-hour sun to be fake there and like looking for every way. Like I get that like maybe they feel like they're like defending what the truth is, and then people talking about like the dual pole they think is like going off the truth, and so they feel like they need to defend. But like, what really got them on the AE map in the first place? You know, like what sold them on that? Did they measure things or test anything? No, they just sort of saw pictures on the internet and went with it.
Hmm.
But you can also see
Yeah,
how like
yeah,
that
I
could
think, yeah.
really be a tanking for like the idea of the Earth being planar and stationary. If everybody just clings to a false model and then a false idea that there's no 24-hour sun there, you can see how like ultimately devastating that would be. Like that would pretty much just tank the whole thing eventually. Like if everybody was like, "There's no 24-hour sun, the AE map is true," it'd be like just literally lemmings walking off a cliff. If it's not the case, you know, if there is a 24-hour sun there, and that's probably what the controllers want. They wanted to set up this secondary netting to get everyone attached to it. And then I think they kind of concealed the 24-hour sun there, like for years. Like we had very limited access, and there was very limited footage and stuff of it. So that seems to me
Mhm.
that's very likely that was purposeful to then get everybody thinking like AE map, no 24-hour sun. And then now that there's more trips there and they've kind of loosened up access, and whether this Duffy guy is in on it or not, like with them, or whether he just happened to do it, either way, they would know that people would figure out there's a 24-hour sun there and that the AE map doesn't work with that.
Yeah.
And they would assume that people probably won't try to have the money or have the ability to actually figure out what the Earth actually is. I mean, it essentially has
Right.
to be a two-pole system because we have GPs of stars and we have two rotations and we have like fixed GPs for every star. So if you have fixed GP for two massive rotations in the sky, then you have two massive poles on the ground. There's no other way around that unless you have like relative GPs that are looping all around. But like in the way that like imagine like the Big Dipper, if you went up in near Canada or whatever wherever the Big Dipper is and you were right under that star, it's fixed. You know, every 24 hours, boom, it's right there, right there. It's right there. Well, that's the same in the south. There's a rotation in the south that is a real rotation. It's not just a reflection or a mirroring or just GPs shooting all over the place. It's an actual rotation, just like the one in the north. And there's fixed GPs and there's two 24-hour suns. So the only two options, unless somebody can rebut that or say anything different, is a dual pole planar Earth or a globe.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. And you're thinking that like since there's an apparent two rotations that are going in opposite directions, that there couldn't be a center like horizontal like toroidal spin kind of like it's a horizontal spin, say like a lasso, like a cowboy just spinning it around the top of his head like this tornado, like self-sustaining. Would it not like two plane motor engines not cause those rotations away from each other above it to the right and left there, with one central spin kind of feeding that other turning, each on the left and right? Would that be able to be possible with with a strong enough central magnet or magnetic force, let's say? Or is that because I don't know enough about, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know on a grand scale what it would do um, with just one strong tornado-like middle. If you see where I'm going with it. And it looked like, in the sky that we have two poles.
Okay, if you're
I hope
talking
I'm
about
asking
if you're talking about a north rotation that is a real rotation with fixed GPs and then a southern one that just reflects around the outside, no, that is not possible when you have fixed GPs of all the stars. So when you have fixed GPs of the stars in the south on the ground and fixed GPs of stars in the north, that is impossible to have a southern rotation that is just being stirred up by a center one and that is like following you. Because there's the South Pole. So like if you've seen let me see if I have this image I can pull up real quick. Yeah, this one. This is the Southern Star rotation. I just put a little circle. I put Union Glacier there just for the heck of it. But if you were in South America, you see that southern rotation. If you're in South Africa, you see that rotation. If you're in Australia, you see that rotation. So Union Glacier, if you were in any of those places, South America, South Africa, Australia, and you pointed, you could point to where Union Glacier is, which is like 10 degrees from the center, 79 degrees, 11 degrees or whatever from the 90. So that's one spot, Union Glacier. So it can't be in three spots. And then all the stars in the south have fixed GPs. Just like Union Glacier, there's a star above Union Glacier, there's stars above everything else. So in theory, you could maybe have a southern rotation that's like a reflection, that's like a mirroring thing that follows you around the outside. But if that was the case, then you would have relative GPs. You'd have like thousands of GPs. for all those stars. And Union Glacier would be like the South Pole would have to be in like thousands of spots around the outer rim. So what you just said is not possible now. Not with fixed GPs. If somebody could measure that there's more than one GP or that the GPs move as you move, then that maybe in theory could be possible. But if the GPs are fixed, and then the sun follows that same circle in the south, just like it does in the north. I mean, the AE map had problems even before they went to Antarctica. I mean, the Southern Stars already. What I'm talking about right now, the GPs, that already has been a fatal issue for the AE map. And the fact that everything goes straight at the equator, that's not what the AE map shows. So, I mean, the AE map has already had problems with the sky. It doesn't match at all with the sky. It only matches in the north, kind of.
All right. Yeah, I was, I was thinking that too, that, since there are so many separate projections that can work, as a transforming between, I don't want to say models, but, transforming from, some are strictly work better as celestial kind of positions. And then I know there's quite a few that don't work a one-to-one from the ground to the sky. But yeah,
it's
it
a
does make more sense
sky.
to me that, right, it would make more sense to me that the sun and moon were traveling in these positions that fit inside like a tunnel, like a wind tunnel, I guess you would say, and it corkscrews. If you take enough measurements, you'll see that, throughout the year, it'll kind of seesaw back and forth. The sun and moon do that, like seesaw, but they always go in a very limited up and down, between Cancer and Capricorn. But they do like a, everyone has that damn, how do I say it? When we first started arguing about geocentric versus heliocentric, and like the sun's just shooting out through the universe and all the planets are like tailing behind it, and spinning really quick. Like I see that the sun doing that above our head, literally it'll corkscrew like that. But each snapshot you take throughout the year, it's going to be in a separate, up and down kind of give and take, breathing, like expanding, contracting. You know what I mean? But that central vortex, I think, serves it all. And but yeah, the celestial.
Did you get what I was saying?
vortex
So here, I just posted this
I
image. I just posted this image. It's kind of like artwork kind of thing, but it's kind of good to show it. If you imagine the whole like upper left half, that whole circle, if that was the AE map, imagine that's the AE map, and then the little circular thing in the lower right, imagine that was the southern star rotation. So what I'm saying is that for the AE map, that southern star rotation thing on the lower right would have to move around the outside. For that to happen, the GPs of the stars would have to move as the person moves. But that isn't what happens. We don't have multiple GPs on the ground. Therefore, we have two fixed poles with two fixed GPs. That makes the AE map completely impossible. 100% impossible. The only way that would work is if you had multiple GPs. I mean, if that southern rotation on the outside there, if that moved with you, then you could have a dude in South Africa be like, hey, I'm under this star, because he would have his rotation there. And someone else in South America be like, hey, I'm under the same star. And they could be like, wait a minute, how are we under the same star at the same time?
Yeah, I see your point. And even if you look at it as, the if you looked at it in a possible way that it's like the moon map, like we're in a smaller quadrant, like maybe there's 4 of the AE maps can fit inside of one grand map kind of thought process, like and we only move throughout, so much throughout each every 2,500 years, something like that. I forget, but you see my point where you could still have a dual pole relationship with a map like that. And that's kind of my thought process is, you know what I mean? Like it would still work in a way like it's just always on the move, like throughout the cycles. And did you guys ever look at that video I dropped with the flat firmament, flat ceiling, and there being almost like a disco ball, I guess you would say, being projected onto that kind of idea? I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I think that explains a dual pole pretty good as well. But yeah, hey, I just wanted to drop all that, guys. I'm probably going to get off and eat some food. But yeah, thank you for the chat, bro, and thanks for not beating me up too much for dropping. So, guess we will catch y'all later.
All right, bro. Yeah, have a good one. Cheers.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Y'all too, man. Cheers. God bless.
kind of like this. I have this image in my folder too. This kind of shows the idea of like kind of an AE map. And then I guess those like darker green circles there, because everybody sees that rotation of stars in the south. So that green thing down there, the dark green, would have to like move all the way around the outer rim, basically. And then you would end up with multiple GPs of all kinds of stars. But we have fixed GPs of all the stars, so that's why I don't see any way that that's possible. That's been a problem with the AE map from the beginning, but I think it was just like the thing that was always being promoted and pushed and talked about. And there's all like the flat Earth kind of thing with like the 24/7 server was always kind of involved in that map, and they used it on their logo, and everyone always had the AE map as like the default, mostly because people started questioning the globe, and then they went online and found that AE map, and there seems to be some historical, relevance to it. Like that map has, been claimed that, from other times. I mean, there's the Gleason one, but there's also that like Yerba Monte map from the 1500s is claimed, and so people just kind of jumped onto that idea, and then yeah, it was kind of like the thing that was usually talked about a lot in terms of the Earth not being a globe. And I mean, the powers that be use that map, like in the United Nations and the World Health Organization. So it's just another little interesting tidbit is that they do use it. And people have always been saying like, oh, well, it's truth in plain sight. They're putting what the real Earth is right on the front of the United Nations. But is that really what's happening? Is that really what the truth is?
Creating a false dichotomy, making them think it's truth in plain sight.
Yeah, it's one false thing versus another false thing in terms of the AE map. Yeah, not the Earth being planar and stationary, but the AE map. Yeah, the Gleasons. That's why, like, I mean, I don't want to offend anyone who still thinks the Earth could be the AE map or whatever. I understand, like, it's a journey we're all on, but I'm like much further, just as time has gone on, that to the side that the AE map is just deception 2.0. Like they had the globe Earth deception and then the flat Earth deception. The Earth is planar and stationary, but I don't think it's the AE map or the globe. So they just had like a backup deception ready to roll, and makes sense. Now I don't know, like, to what extent, like, I mean, I'm still in the range of somewhat speculation with in terms of like the whole component of it. Like, did they like plant all of those like maps? Like, is the Gleason's thing a whole plant? And I mean, it is northern centric, so like people who live in the north. But I mean, it's not difficult to see there's a southern rotation of stars. So, why anyone would even really ever think it's a single pole system is kind of just doesn't actually correlate with the sky. And it puts Antarctica as a rim around the outside. Is that really what Antarctica is? All that? And people kind of say like, oh, the sky could be anything. It could be different things. I hear that, but I guess like unless anyone has a rebuttal for this, like I keep saying, where like if you went around and put a little flag in the ground underneath every GP of every star, you would end up with two huge swirls, like two huge rotations of flags on the ground. So I don't see how it could be anything different when you have like fixed GPs of every star. It was a pretty good trap they set up. If that's what the case is, if we actually live on some kind of a dual pole electric field Earth, and it's pretty good. They did the globe deception, and then they had a backup AE map they got everyone wrapped up in. Whipped out Duffy, did that whole thing, which didn't really affect people too much, but like it didn't really like flip everyone back to the globe, maybe like they were hoping. But it got a lot of people thinking the TFE is fake, still clinging on to a way to make the AE map work. And if it is a dual pole flat Earth, how many people are even talking about that? There's like 20, not even 20. It's like me, Brian Leakey, New Perspective, that Kazra guy. I'm not even sure. Do you guys even know of anyone else? Gatebreaker? It's like about it. There's like less than 10 people on all of Earth that are really even talking about it. Maybe it's more that I don't know, though. There might be, well, New Perspective's friend E1. There's literally like 10 people, maybe 20 at most, that I'm aware of. Do you know of any others, Gatebreaker?
That used to be Earth is a plane, but he's no longer. But that Earth is a plane.
Who's that?
He used to be a flat earther, like back in the day. has an Instagram account and stuff. I'm sure there's a few others, but not like content creators or anything. But yeah, you're right. It's unfortunately not that many. So
You mean this guy, the one that I have this animation? This guy you said used to be a flat earther and think this, and he changed or something, or is this
Yeah.
the guy? This says Earth is a plane.
yeah, that's him.
You know, he changed or flipped or something, or what?
Yeah, he did.
To what? To globe?
I think concave.
Oh,
But specifically, thanks to this guy, is I used to be a Gleason flat earther, and in a chat I was in with him, he mentioned some things that I didn't even understand what he was saying, but he gave a list of some things that was wrong with the Gleason, and I started looking into this one, and I realized the superiority of this one. So let me see if I can give that image of that list. Hang on, I might have to restart Discord. One sec.
yeah. I mean, dude, from the perspective that the globe is a deception and the AE map is a deception, like unless something huge shifts, like I know it's kind of dramatic to say this, but it's like they almost got us. Like it's really close because anyone who's still with the AE map, I don't think it is the AE map. I don't think that'll ever work. So if people are going to be like, it's flat and it's the AE map, like that'll just never work. It's kind of like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole kind of thing. Like that, if that just isn't what the Earth is. And then it's so heavily associated with the term flat Earth, flat Earth, flat Earth, you know, and the ice wall and the whole thing. So like that's just going down with the ship. And then the globe is the globe, and they kind of make that stronger every day with their, well, I don't think it's strong, but you know what I mean, with all of their like NASA and all the stuff. And there's people troll, you know, the globe guys just, you know, always here to kind of debate it and do all the mocking, ridiculing, you know, the domineering, all the stuff to keep kind of flat earthers, you know, they're always doing that, the kind of like in the trenches thing. And then the Gleason's thing has been so like thoroughly saturated into flat earth. And then now that they did take that trip to Antarctica, you've got certain people saying it's fake. You have certain people saying that they're agents and all that stuff. So that's just like, in my viewpoint, completely going down with the ship. So yeah, it's pretty intense, dude. And it's like, if the Earth is actually a planar dual pole system, then what I mean by they almost got us is like, yeah, like they got the globe thing totally after World War II, everything going on with the globe. They got that just in the mainstream. And then the kind of flat Earth movement, as it were, if you want to call it that, which there is a lot of truth that's been discussed over the years for sure, in terms of the Earth not being a globe and all of that. But if people are going to be championing a map that's incorrect or a concept that's incorrect, then that's just sort of like, you know, it's sort of like a suicide mission in a way. I mean, a lot of people don't claim a map or a model though. So I guess for that, in that whole category of people, like it's not really as much of an issue. Like if they're not really saying like, hey, this is it, you know, if they're more like, yeah, but even in that boat though, if you don't have any, that's why Jaren kind of goes on and on. Like if you have no map and no model and no idea how the sun moves, it is kind of difficult. Like what are you going to do? Start a revolution? Like start a movement? You know, like what can you really do with that? You know, like, well, I have no idea what it is, but I know it's not a globe and I know it's planar and stationary. I mean, that's good if that's true, or to have that truth, but it's like to have like absolutely nothing to go off, you know. I mean, what I mean by they almost got us is like from the perspective that it is a dual pole planar Earth, and they deceived us with the globe. They deceived the whole flat Earth movement with the AE map, and then you're left with like, what are we left with now? There's like a group of people that think TFE is all fake, and that Witsit and all those guys are, you know, that whole thing, trying to claim that they deceived everybody. So you have that group. Well, that's not going to go far if that's not the truth. Like that's just like, no offense to those people, but if they're completely wrong, then it's like in the realm of delusion. Like they're just wrong. Even though some people might just be on the fence, they might not be sure. I'm not trying to like insult anyone. I'm just saying if it's something like, if someone's like, there's no 24-hour sun there, and then people can just go there and be like, yeah, there is. You know, that's pretty tough. And then they got everyone with the globe thing all, you know, going. And then there's like 20 people talking about the dual pole at most. And there's probably, and there's issues with the dual pole thing. I'm not all on it because there's a whole bunch of things I would need answers for. So basically we need billions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars to actually do all of the testing and things that would actually be needed to figure out what the Earth is. And the powers that be figure that that'll never happen. I think that will happen, but they don't think it's going to happen. They think they got it. Right now, they're like, they're all good. They feel like they got it. They pretty much pinched it out, you know, squinched it out, whatever the word is, kind of squashed it out. And think about from their viewpoint, if they know it's a dual pole planar Earth, they're sitting there like, what? There's 20 people talking about it. Why? You know what I mean? I mean, most of the AE flat Earth people like are very against the dual pole. The globe people are very against the dual pole. Basically, everyone's against the dual pole except for like 20 people that are talking about it. So if that's what the Earth is, they literally, the controllers pretty much think they have it in the bag. And it will take a miracle and millions of dollars of an influx to even have a chance at an actual Earth awakening, as it were, to use the name of the server, to have any actual awakening that would happen on a larger scale when it comes to what the Earth is. And just awakening on other levels too, though. I mean, that phrase could be used in general ways. But they pretty much almost got us in this current time we're in this moment without a huge shift and an influx of a ton of money to build a research team and do all the tests that we actually would need to do to actually show what the Earth actually is. Because it's not just the AE map and it's not the globe. And what it actually is much more complex to figure out. You know, just sitting at home, going on the internet, finding an AE map and being like, this is it, and then making mugs and t-shirts and trying to go tell the world. Sorry for the rant.
It's kind of funny to think about because
But your mic went out a little.
you want a DoorDash? You want a DoorDash? Talking to me?
Wait, Anchovy, are you hot micing or were you saying something?
No, yeah, I was gonna say something. Someone started talking to me. My bad. I was just saying it's kind of funny to think about because somebody here is wrong, right? So at some point, the truth is some side in this debate is completely delusional. It's just a weird thing to think about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could just say it. If the Earth was a globe, everyone not thinking it's a globe would be delusional. If the Earth is planar and stationary and not an AE map, then everyone thinking it's the AE map are delusional. Yeah, it's pretty intense. And if it's not a globe, then everyone thinking it's a globe are delusional, which is a massive number of people. So, yeah. And like I said, if there's like 20 people talking about the dual pole planar Earth, if that's the true one, then there's like 20 people in the world that are not delusional and that are onto what the Earth is in 2025. If it is a dual pole planar Earth, which it clearly looks to be with the two star rotations and the North Pole and South Pole, and Antarctica seems to be a continent from everything. I mean, I haven't been there obviously, but like you can get to it from South America, South Africa, Australia, and from all those points you can go to a spot in Antarctica, which you then take a short flight to the South Pole. There seems to be a South Pole. There's a South Pole rotation. There's elevation angles to Sigma Octantis, 1 degree per 69 miles. There's fixed GPs of all those southern stars. There's a 24-hour sun in the south, 24-hour sun in the north. Like everything points to the Antarctica is a continent and there's two poles. And if it's planar and not a globe, then you have some kind of a two-pole planar Earth. And if there's literally like less than 20 people even strongly considering it, even working on it, then the craziest thing of all is that there's like less than 20 people that are not delusional about what the Earth is right now. If that's what the truth is. If it's not the AE map and it's not the globe, that's wild. Because most people deny the dual pole. Like most are not really willing to even consider it. Like a lot of the religious folks don't want to because they think the Bible says it's like for whatever reason, more of an AE thing. But go ahead, Anchovy.
Yeah, I didn't really have much to add. I just was going to say that's why I kind of like to wait for somebody to come in here and bring in something demonstrable rather than, what we think is going on. Because we can ponder all day, but unless someone brings something in here, I don't know. That's why I kind of think that's why I like going in on the celestial theodolite guys and talking about Daislow's test that he wants to do is because like somebody's out there actually doing something rather than, appealing to possibility of like, reflections and all that. Like all that could be happening, but unless you want to go out there and show it is, it's really just I don't know, it's just a time sink.
Well, yeah, dude. I mean, this is a truth. It's not really easy. Like I said, if we had, which I think we will, if we had $300 million, let's say, right now, what we could do a lot. You know what I mean? So like to get something more definitive, like that's what's needed. And I know people might think, well, where are we going to get $300 million? Well, the world works in mysterious ways, and there's all kinds of potentials for that to occur. So, I mean, I know some may say that they don't think that ever will, or, shot in the dark, all that kind of idea, but that is what's needed. And that's what would be needed to actually do the testing that you're talking about to get something definitive, even more.
We need XRP.
Yeah. XRP. It's going to take us all the way.
Straight to the moon.
No, but we do need a miracle. Yeah. In a lot of ways. I mean, like Anchovy, you were saying someone's delusional. Okay. If it was just a globe, let's say, then I guess you could just say everyone who's thought it's flat is delusional. Right. And then I'm just saying from that perspective, I don't think that's the case. I'm just saying if it was, I guess you could do that or say that. And if it was, it should be able to be proven if it was. I mean, dude, there's so many things, dude. Even the pictures they show us of the globe are so hacked up. Like if you have any just like discernment, like you should be able to see that things don't click together the way they claim the globe should be. Like it just is there's so many factors of it. And it's like from the perspective that people that are, speaking out that it's not a globe, it's like, we're like the few that are on the front lines, like holding back the holding back the waters or whatever, like whatever analogy, but we're like the few that are like, wait a minute, this isn't right, and the Globers are trying to like squash us out and be like, no, get back on the globe. It's very intense. It's definitely complicated. And then the whole AE map thing that was sold to everybody before everyone really figured out what the Earth was, they just jumped on the AE map like, yeah, this is it. This is my new baseball team. And they jumped on it like Jaren and these guys and like rah rah, like with the pom poms out, like as if that was the answer. Like no one has checked the distances in the South to verify the AE map. No one. Not one person, but a bunch of people think it's the case, and I get why, because a dual pole is kind of complex, and how does it, there's issues with that too, but it's kind of wild how many people jumped on the AE map without really any reason to.
I'm confused about the second pole, man. Like one's in the sky and the other one's on the ground.
No, I'm just talking about the two rotations of stars, the South Pole and the North Pole. The two poles of rotation that we all see every day.
Right. So the sky stuff, because it's like I see one magnetic declination and that's it. And other than that, I don't have another one. I only have one of those. So without sky stuff, I only got one pole.
You always got some crazy background noise going on, bro, every time.
I'm not sure what you mean.
errands
There's
right
two
now.
poles. I mean, there's fixed GPs of every star, and there's two massive rotations of stars, and they seem to be above the two what we call the North Pole and the South Pole. Like
Oh, you're gonna quiet down.
the way the North Pole, like you think about the AE map, the way the stars, the GPs, elevation angles to Polaris, the way all that works, it does the exact same thing in the South. There's nothing different about it. It's the same thing. It's just the southern stars, meaning, they're different stars. They move the other way because it's like the way in electric field you have clockwise, counterclockwise. So other than that though, it works the same way. The elevation angles, all of it works the same way. There's nothing different about how it works in the North. So that leaves us with two poles, a two-pole planar Earth or a globe. It does not work with the AE map at all. It just completely fails to align with what the AE map claims. A single pole, system where like the North Pole is the real one and the South Pole is what, like just like a mirage or like in a reflection, or it's moving all around, or like, I mean, what is the idea there? That there isn't a South Pole? Because that's what Jaren's been going off about, and he's kind of right. This part of it, I agree with him. I don't really agree with a lot of the other stuff he said, obviously, and I don't think it's any reason to flip to a globe and all this stuff he did. That's just completely erratic and not logical. But he is right about how the AE map doesn't work with the sky. And it hasn't this whole time. It never has. It's just that the 24-hour sun thing maybe just solidified it in people's minds more so.
My problem is the shift, man. They go from the ground, magnetic declination, to the sky, to star declination. It's like, bro, you can't conflate the two, because this is where the South Pole, North Pole thing is normally at on Earth, when we're dealing with Earth. So they're just moving the goalpost if we go to the sky and go, oh, well, I think this because of the sky. It's like, dude, you're still missing the South magnetic pole.
No, that's wait, you're talking about the magnetic, but that's how a two-pole system works. The compass always points to the north. That's not problematic for how that works.
It is, considering you can't separate them. So north and south, the discharge is one. So it's basically anode cathode kind of ideology. One's discharging, the other one's taking in energy.
Yeah, maybe, but like the way, it could be doing that. But the compass aligns to the field line, so it's aligning to the north because the flow is going essentially from south to north. Like, have you looked at, like, if you take a compass and you put it on a table, like with a bar magnet, and you move the compass around, it does the same thing. It always points to the north. It doesn't mean there's only one pole. It just means that the compass is aligning with the field lines. This one I'm posting is kind of complex. It shows a bunch of them, but if you look like along, see it says the north south there. If you kind of, I know that they change direction when you get like around the pole because it kind of, but like what we're talking about, imagine between that north and south, the red and blue there. If you imagine that's the equator, see how like the gray direction is pointing to the north always, no matter where you are. Like the little compass things that are right next to that bar, they're always pointing north. So that's how a two-pole system works. It doesn't mean there's one pole. If that's what you were saying. I don't know if that's what you were saying, but.
As far as moving around on Earth and figuring out where you're at, yeah. Just because we see it on a minute scale, it's like, where's the grand scale? That's all I'm looking for. You get what I'm saying, Gio?
Not quite. I didn't quite catch the last, or know what you meant. Is that in response to the way the compass works, or something? Or I don't know. Maybe.
Right, the way the compass works. They say there's Earth has got 2 poles, and I can't do nothing about the speaker above me. Sorry, but 2 poles, north and south. Poles. These are some type of map declination point on physical Earth, not in the sky, and that's what they need to resolve to have globe.
In my opinion,
Well, I mean,
sorry.
go ahead. No, I mean, the compass works exactly how it would if the Earth was a globe or a dual pole flat Earth. But go ahead, Gatebreaker. I mean, in terms of the way the compass works.
I was gonna say, in my opinion, the worst thing wrong with the Gleason map. Let's just ignore the stars. Not that they're not important, and the sun, just the ground. I remember when I learned about flat Earth, it was like, oh, you know, they're hiding the map via the projection. It would be like the Gleason map. Is the globe flattened out? It's just a projection. It's just a projection. And that would essentially, to me, what it implied is that they're equal. But that's not the point. I just made this diagram here. The thing about the Gleason map is that distances south of the equator are off by a lot. And this would be very difficult to hide from humanity. Like it would be extremely difficult to hide, because distances means anything getting from point A to a point B. Whether it's planes, boats, walking on land, just measuring the movement of literally anything. Anything. The Gleason map specifically, and I'm using the globe here not to say it's a globe or that's the truth. It could be wrong as far as measurements go. The globe's measurements of distances and the Gleason map south of the equator, they're complete opposites. If you look at the globe, I don't know if maybe Cuddles, if you're interested, I could explain this thing if you want.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the distances in the south are incredibly expanded on the AE map to the point to where the distances are dramatically larger. Yeah, like your image there shows it good. Yeah, I mean well, it's an interesting way to show it, but yeah, accurately. So yeah, that's what I've been saying too. Like, did anyone measure the distances in the south to be like, hey, I'm gonna root for the AE map or think it's the AE because it would require that. The dual pole does not require that, because the dual pole, you know, is like a stereographic projection where you have the north and south that are like equal, and the continents come together in the south to Antarctica, continents go together in the north to the North Pole. So it matches closer to what the distances would be on a globe, if not quite similar. Whereas the AE is way off, yeah, in the south.
Essentially, if you look at the globe, in the middle is the globe, and the number 1, that circle around the North Pole region, the Gleason map is claiming, because on the globe, number 1 and number 5, they're essentially like kind of symmetrical, just like the dual pole is, and this is actual distances. The Gleason map is taking number 1, making it bigger than 2, making it bigger than 3, which is the equator, and making it bigger than 4 if it were to keep going, and then 5. It's so off. It's. I honestly think it'd be harder to hide the lack of curvature than these distance discrepancies. And I'm saying this just to go against Gleason. If the Gleason map was it as it is, we're not arguing over curvature right now. It'd be harder to hide that distance discrepancy than the very curvature of the Earth itself.
Well, let me see your yacht and I'll show you mine.
So once this distance, I mean, you don't even use the word discrepancy. This geometry difference is understood. Every other phenomena would fall as a hypothetical problem if Gleason were to win literally both point A to point B would be off by. I think that would be very difficult to hide. So
I hear you, bro. I mean, they claim to have underwater sea cables in the south too. So the people that laid those would have to be way off. I mean, yeah. When Kazra did his presentation in here on the dual pole, he was talking about that exact thing. Like, are they really hiding these massively large distances in the south? You know, and what that would take to actually hide with all of the plane routes and boats. And I mean, some people just sail across the ocean themselves. You know, like they have a yacht and they just go. I saw a guy who would like traverse the whole Pacific Ocean like in a boat by himself. So I agree with you, dude. It seems like that would be near impossible to hide, although maybe not completely impossible. I mean, it could be probably an explanation that could be woven together as to how they could hide it, but
from my experience of talking about this dual pole, I get a sense that when people hear it, they may feel a little like it's outside of their power to confirm, or I don't know, maybe confirm is not the right word, because in these communities, everyone always tells each other, did you measure it? Did you measure it? Did you go there? Did you measure it? And people may think that, oh, there's no way that I could figure out if the Antarctica, and this isn't even about Antarctica. Like I said, this issue starts from the equator down. It just gets worse the more down you go. People may feel like it's outside of their ability to figure out if it's one or the other. And for me personally, I disagree. I think everyone's capable of doing it. Specifically because the distance discrepancy is so massive. It's like, it's at the Antarctica level without even going into Antarctica. It's 5 times the distance at least. That means everything would have to, if the distance of everything is 5 times off, everything would have to go 5 times faster in the same time for them to hide it. That means winds would have to go 5 times faster down there. People in boats would have to go 5 times faster. People walking on their feet would have to go, they'll think they walked 1 mile, but they actually walked 5. That's not going to happen. Planes would have to go 5 times faster. Anything from point A to ocean, just movement of water, tsunamis.
The sun would have to move way faster too.
Right.
We talked about a way to test that where you could like plot the GP and then time it if it actually is going. Like we've done kind of like, what is the like the general math? It's like if the sun is moving 1,037 miles per hour at the equator, which is actually kind of like a decent little globe rebuttal. Like, when people say, oh, we're moving 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, that's so fast. But actually, if you flip it on a stationary Earth, the sun at the equator is actually going 1,037. And it looks like it's going really slow. So like, I'm not saying that like in any way the Earth is moving or it's a globe. I'm just saying it is kind of a decent rebuttal for the globe guys. They could be like, for people that are like incredulous. Well, I mean, I think it's not only the 1,000 miles an hour on the globe though, it's like millions of miles an hour. So it's way more than just that. But anyways, I'm just saying the sun would be going 1,000 miles an hour over the stationary Earth at the equator. And then when it goes north, it would be a little slower. Like, what is it? Like 800 miles an hour. And then, but when it went south, it would have to be going like 1,300, right? On the AE. I'm just giving very general numbers. I've seen the numbers before. We've crunched them. I just don't have them on the top of my head, the exact number. But the sun would have to be going like 1,300 miles an hour or whatever in the south, like a lot faster, if it was the AE thing.
So it's going to be hard to not to say you're trying to convince anyone. I don't know what it doesn't matter. That's what your intention is, your intention. But even just to have people look into it, it's just going to be very difficult. I don't know like what combination of words you're going to be able to say. Most people, they kind of just tune out or they lose interest. It gets quiet. I don't know.
No, dude, I already know. I mean, no, I'm not into convincing. This is not a convincing game in my view. I mean, there's been people over the years with the flat earth kind of thing that really wanted to convince, and you have certain channels and servers that are very, very, kind of more on the zealot side of like wanting to slam it into people's brains and try to flat smack them and all that stuff. So there are people that want to do all that. And yeah, people like to debate and people like to compel others what they think is the case or whatever. So, but I mean, dude, with the dual pole, dude, how many people, Gatebreaker, are literally talking about the dual pole? Is it less than 10?
Yeah, it's like virtually, you basically name them all.
That's it. It's like Brian Leakey, me, New Perspective, Kazra, E1, who's New Perspective's friend. You have somewhat talked, well, you've done a lot actually in terms of modeling and mapping and all that stuff. And I'm sure some other people are like open to it to a degree. I mean, people that understand how like an electric field works, an electric field circuit. Now you have, 2 poles in that way. But dude, it's like probably like 10 people that are even like seriously considering it. And then maybe there's another like 50 to 100 that are like open to it or could be the case, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Jeremy's here right now, but I mean, if I asked him, like, he's not like all into dual pole or AE. I think he usually says when he thinks of flat earth, he thinks of the AE map, which makes sense. A lot do, just because that's kind of been the thing. And that's kind of been what's discussed. But at the same time, I don't think Jeremy's against the dual pole at all. But I don't think he's like all in on it either. I think he's open-minded. So there's probably like another 50 to 100 people that are like maybe open to it or like, oh, it could be that. But I mean, yeah, dude, it's like literally like less than 10 that are actually thinking about it. I mean, do you even know anyone else that I didn't name Are there other channels? I saw you posted that Earth is a plane. I'll have to look into that more because I've seen that guy's animations. There might be a handful more, but I mean, are there even any others you can name?
No. No. It's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate, but unfortunately not. And I think part of the reason is just because the argument, and perhaps in good faith, it's just so focused on going against the globe and just disproving the globe, which people put a lot of work and time into, arguing against the globe, and that it's not much going back and testing back home type thing.
Well, people have put a lot into the AE map too. A lot of their belief system, their worldview, their idea. Okay, it's not the globe, but it's this AE thing, or it's something like the AE. You know, the general continent layout from the north. So I mean, there's a lot on that too that people have put into, like their perception of where they live and all that. You know, so like I'm just saying, there's a lot invested in that people have in terms of jumping onto that general layout. You know, and so I'm just saying there's a lot on the globe and a lot on the AE and very little on concave, of course, and then even less on dual pole. So
Concave's pretty bad as well. That one's unfortunate too.
yeah, dude, that's just not the case in my view. I don't think it's concave at all. I just think that's just completely false in my view. I mean, but I know you've considered it. You said you're not as into it these days, but
Yep.
I just strongly don't think it's a concave Earth. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, dude, in this moment in time, on this recording, on this live stream, in this moment, like, I know that like globe guys would, or some guys would just be like, oh, well, you're all delusional. It's not flat. It's not AE. It's not dual pole. You know, and they would just do that, you know, kind of thing because they would just think it's a globe. But I mean, Gatebreaker, would you say that if the actual truth is that it is a dual pole planar Earth, that it's just wild that there's like less than 10 people on Earth right now actually onto what it is?
Yes. It's my opinion, and I'm nobody in anything. I've not done any of these experiments. I have, but if the Earth had to be level and stationary, I don't see it being any other way than a dual pole.
Yeah.
Could the dual pole model be a well? We had this conversation before, but like I don't know really like what your stance on it is. Like, could the dual pole model of a flat Earth be a holography projection of a higher dimension?
I'm not sure what you mean.
That,
I mean, it could
if
be, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I just don't know what he means. Is he talking about the stars being?
I have an
hologram?
image that I have an image. I think kind of like what he's talking about.
it's basically a flat projection of a higher dimension. Like
Kind of like that image
an
I posted.
entire higher dimension.
I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, a dual pole would just be that you have Polaris, and then there's the whatever's under Polaris. You have the stars all rotating around Polaris, and then you have all the land coming out from Polaris. Then you have a straight line at the equator, and then you just have the southern rotation and the continents. I mean, if you've seen some of these like general dual pole type of layouts, projections, which are not really like new. I mean, these have been known projections, like this one I'm posting. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but it wouldn't have to be anything from any other dimensions. I mean, the sky could have some kind of holographic, super fluid, some kind of unique features to it that make the sky what it is. Like the sky could be anything, you know, in terms of what the sky is, like what it's actually made of and how it actually works in that way. But if you have, like, essentially, if you imagine like those two poles there, you have the northern rotation. I don't know if there's any good images that kind of show like the two. I don't know if like New Perspective has any. of the ones that actually kind of show like a little bit what the stars would look like over it.
Yeah, he posted a GIF. I'll try to post it again.
Well, but yeah, I mean, you would basically just have the two rotations. I mean, this one like kind of shows it, I guess, a little bit with a little bit more lines. But you imagine all those lines are the actual stars, so you would have the northern stars and then the straight line at the equator and the southern stars. It matches exactly what the sky is.
A holography projection would be that much like how a black hole is described, that it would bend the light around itself to such an extent that you see the front, or you see the backside wherever you stand. Like you see the backside on the front side as an outer ring, so that any movement on that surface would basically, like, if you just had one sun on that, it would basically appear to split off and go both ways.
I just think people. I just think that before people start trying to find these fancy explanations, they got to have the basis covered, like the simple observations, like Gio was mentioning, two actual rotations, simple, more simple things like actual distances. Like, is Antarctica a the Gleason variant going around the world, or is it smaller, akin to the dual pole? Because without it, people will just, they'll get lost in these explanations and not understand the more simple stuff, the more concrete stuff, like shadows on the equinoxes and all these things. Understand that the southern stars are not just a reflection of the northern stars. They're every bit as real and unique, each and every one of them, as the northern stars. Understand the direction of rotation of the northern stars, how it's observed in the north for the northern hemisphere, how people observe the stars in the equator just going over them, and then the opposite in the southern hemisphere. Understand that people in the southern hemisphere during the latter months, like September to like March, which is where we're in the middle of right now, people in the south, they see the sun go the opposite direction as it's modeled in the Gleason. Just all these things are more concrete and clearly points easily to one flat Earth being the dual pole over the other. Lack of curvature, we don't need to talk about. The globe, we don't need to talk about. Just observations, people taking their cameras, what did they see, time lapses, and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think you kind of said it earlier. Like, I hear you on all that, but dude, I mean, I'm not saying people can't change or something won't change, but you alluded to it earlier about maybe why the dual pole is met with like a lot of resistance and even like not a lot of interest, maybe, because I kind of hear what you're saying when it gets brought up, like not a lot of people really seem to really want to talk about it. I mean, I know a lot of the I'm just saying this very generally, but I think some of the folks that are very strongly religious, like for various reasons, feel like the dual pole is like against the religion, even though I don't necessarily think it has to be. But in terms of like the idea of one center in the north, and then maybe the dome idea, you can still have a dome on a dual pole. But I'm just saying that generally. I know that some like Christian folks in particular have been like, have that as a reason. But so there's that potentially for some, and then there's some obviously that are more with the AE map, kind of the history of that. But I think you alluded to something. What did you say before, where you were like, to consider the dual pole kind of takes like?
I said something along the lines of that some people may hear it and they feel like it's outside of their control or ability to find out. Something like that. Was that ring a bell?
I think so. Yeah, kind of along those lines. Like, I don't know if it was just like, that it would be more to figure out, but maybe just that like it's sort of like a web of complexity and things that you can't verify. And so to go with it. It's sort of like putting yourself out on a limb without much. I mean, that's how I feel in a bit. Like there's not much to go off in a way. I mean, New Perspective's been coming up with some stuff. I've talked quite a bit about the potentials and some of the issues with it as well. But I mean, without like more ways to test things, it is pretty challenging. You know, like how far can you go with it? You know, without more data. So like, you're saying that other people may feel that way. Therefore, people that want like a baseball team to root for, they're not likely to want to kind of be on one there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, I also mentioned how in these debates we hear and it's said a lot. Oh, have you been there? Have you measured it yourself? Type of thing. So I don't know. I think I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Bro, you talk about the trips and the traveling, but most of that's done inside the equator. Most all boat travel, even private. So
What do you mean inside the equator? I think people sail all over, don't they? I mean, you mean north of the equator, or?
I think in the Atlantic, in the middle of nowhere, right? But they're on an island. Everything else is done within the circle of the equator. I mean, I'd say even a tighter circle than that. Because New York to England, Russia, I mean, the China bit, but they'll still ship from the north because it's shorter distance.
I mean, the Vendée Globe race claims to leave from like Europe, go all the way down to Antarctica, circle Antarctica, and come all the way back up to Europe. And you said circle of the equator. Are you getting that from the AE map that it's a circle? Well, what's showing you that the equator is a circle?
Look, I'm just using that based on the water, right? Water is what it is. And if I've got a magnetic declination, North Pole, then I'm going to go in a circle. Or there will be one to give me a known distance.
Okay. Can I just mention that holography projection thing? I don't get it mixed up with hologram because it's two different things.
I mean, you guys are mad at cartographers for the Gleasons and other maps, and I'm mad at Buzz Aldrin for telling us all we could do something that nobody's doing.
Does the holography thing that you're mentioning, does it help point to one flat Earth over the other flat Earth, Gleason compared to dual pole?
Yeah, it's to describe the dual pole.
I mean, go for it. If you want to like post images that you have, if it helps people, that'll help too.
I mean, are you referring to
I
the
have-
sky? The sky having a holographic nature to it, or the ground?
No, it's not holographic. It's not a hologram. It's holography. It's mapping out all the it's mapping out all the points of a higher dimension onto a lower dimensional surface. But all my information about that is on my computer, and I'm on my phone right now. And I won't be on my computer today. Sorry. I will post it later. But I sent it to Geo once.
In my, I don't see any DMs that we've ever DM'd. You sent it in there, or
No.
you posted it in the chat somewhere?
I posted it in the live stream chat.
Okay. I may not have seen it. Or if I did, if it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
What's up, Dave?
What's up?
This all
gonna
got
ask
started 'cause there was a bunch of other topics earlier, and then RG brought up, like, I don't know, some stuff about the TFE being fake, and then now we've been on this. Have you been listening?
Yeah, I was listening. Yep, I have. I was wondering how a higher dimension holographic or holography. Why is that? What's problem does that solve? I mean, I don't get why it had why. I mean, if it's what it appears to be, it's what it appears to be, whether it's higher dimension or reality, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if he was like, I'm not trying to say he was trolling, but I don't know if he was like trolling, trying to say, oh, the dual pole is impossible, therefore it has to be some like magical multi-dimensional thing. I didn't know, or if he was serious. I'm not sure. Maybe he's being
I'm
serious.
Oh, did he leave? Oh, he's here. Okay. Well, why does the higher dimension make it better?
I don't know how to say it really. And technically, like it's not that it solves anything that can't be solved any other way, but like
Well, if it's an
when you
electromagnetic field, it could work exactly like it looks, and it's just an actual field that's in reality. And this dimension is reality, whatever you want to call it.
that could be it as well, but like I think you should take in consideration all of the possibilities. I'm just pointing out that the map that it gets posted in the live stream chat of the dual pole looks. I mean, it looks like those currents of the electromagnetic field, but it also looks like a holography projection of a higher dimension on top of a lower dimensional surface, which would explain that there appears to be only one sun, but then rotating around the two poles.
Well, it doesn't have to. It has to actually. Well, I don't think there's only. I think there's only one sun, and it just rotates on the exact same day, exact same time. It goes to the south, and the exact same day, at exact same time, it rotates back up to the north, like clockwork. There doesn't need to be two suns for the dual pole.
Yeah, it would basically, like when you
So-
look at an electric field circuit, it would just be, it's interesting the word circuit, and people talk about the sun circuiting and the moon circuiting. Now with the AE map idea, they would say like it's all circuiting around the North Pole. But if you actually, with a dual pole, which actually has, a two pole circuit like that, then the sun would just be following the circuit lines, essentially, just like the electricity does. So the sun would just be following the circuit lines of the actual electric field, the electromagnetic field of the whole system. So you wouldn't really need it to do anything than just follow the field lines of the way electricity flows. And it's just like a unique object that's on those field lines, obviously the sun, and the moon and everything else, but everything would just be moving to those field lines. But the thing is, the stars are all fixed in the northern rotation and then the southern rotation, like they're fixed in their positions, whereas the sun, wanders as it were. It kind of moves and wanders through the field, and it moves between the tropics in this case. So it gets kind of 23.4 north and then equator, 23.4 south, back to the equator. So it would just be following the actual circuit lines. Which is interesting about the sun being like electric as well, and like, is it actually like a charged point on the actual electric field circuit?
I don't really know what a higher dimension, like the possibility of a higher. I don't really know what a higher dimension, like the possibility of a higher dimension is. I mean, not to say that it doesn't exist, but we don't. I don't know if that's a possibility unless we know that there's some kind of example of that happening.
Dave, what do you think would happen on the dual pole if you just went out? Like, is there another ice wall, or because if you're saying there's no Pac-Man, like, what would happen if you went out to the outer, circle?
I asked E1 about that, like I was saying in one of those cuts. I don't know if you didn't really see the whole video that I played part of on here. I can send that to you, but yeah, it's like you would follow your magnetic declination, which only points south. Everything runs south to north, right? So that's why the magnetic declination can give you the wrong idea that there's only one pole. That Ansel's, I don't know if Cuddles is still here, but yeah, that's people think, oh, there's a south pole, then you would get a compass pointing at the south pole just the way you would with the north pole. But it's one circuit running south to north. That's the only way you can have magnetic field lines is if you have two poles. And they say actually, if it was a like a ball magnet, it wouldn't work. Like the Earth, like the ball earthers might have to claim if that's the way it would work. Ball magnet it would pause at the equator. It wouldn't work the same way with like the ball magnet idea. It has to be like a circuit. The magnetic field lines over the stationary Earth, just like everything else confirms. But yeah, if you go out west, like Dead Reckoning, he says there's armadas of ships you can see on the naval ship tracker. You can just see them like sitting there, and whether that's to block people or like, some kind of outer ponder, human trafficking thing going on or whatever, whatever it is. Like you would be following your compass and you wouldn't know where to go unless you were like running into them, or there's different things that would direct you either north or south. But he thinks that there might be like a whole other system similar to ours right next to ours, and there'd be kind of like almost like if you laid it out with the sacred geometry and the way things kind of work off of each other, you would have another star field that would be identical to ours in the north connected to that, and it would pair up the north south in the same way that our south north does. But the ones that are right next to each other would have to be like mirror images because of the field being the same. But these are just theories. The speculation stuff I'm going to leave out of the final piece so that it's not easy for people to straw man or discard because of speculation.
Yeah. So that would basically imply, though, that. Okay, well, yeah. I mean, ideas of like other lands or other places or other sun systems or other fields, like just like with the AE map discussions, that could be all discussed to like what's out there, because obviously on a globe it all wraps around a ball, whereas on any planar surface, if you keep going, you're not going to end up where you started unless there's a Pac-Man thing. So without a Pac-Man thing, there's obviously that question of is there an edge or what's out there. So yeah, all of those questions could be asked or brought up, or speculations or whatever, that there could be more. But you're saying like practically, like, I mean, if you and I went in a boat right now, our own private yacht, and just went, we didn't circle around one of the poles, we didn't follow GPS, we just dead reckoned, we went straight. The idea that he has is that there's like literally ships, like it's like a no travel zone, and they'll radio you or stop you, basically, is what he says. Like all the way around the whole Earth in the Pacific Ocean, that's happening, is what he's saying.
even answer all those things? Oops, I was muted. Were you asking me the questions and I didn't even answer all those things? What was the
Pretty
last thing you
much,
said,
yeah.
Gio?
I don't know where. Yeah, I asked.
I was just talking about that. Okay, so you asked about the ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just sitting out there year round, and they shift. He says they go to the south when the sun is in the south, and you can just see them. So you just go on Naval Ship Tracker. It's public, you know, anyone can look at it, and you'll see a bunch of ships sitting out there. I don't know if the reason is that they're sitting there to like protect something else or protect, you know, or trade with the outer pounders or whatever it is they're doing. But you know, you would be going in the area we know about as far as our continents go. You would just be directed north or south. I don't know if Cuddles is still here, but I mentioned that the magnetic declination only points north. You only have the compass pointing north. Just because there's a south pole doesn't mean you have a compass pointing to that pole as if it's an equal attraction or whatever. Like you don't get a magnetic declination unless you have two poles and it runs south to north. It's only one circuit. So that's why people are confused about it being like one pole as opposed to two poles, it seems.
I'm not confused. The problem is with their system, that's what they have to have. I understand how magnets and magnetic toroid fields work just fine.
Okay, so yeah, that's the reason. I thought you were saying that it couldn't be a dual pole because there's no south pole that comes up with the compass or something like that.
For what you guys are calling flat Earth that I just call Earth, right? It's stupid simple. You have that, you have an influx of energy in, you have the output of energy through the conversion inside the stone, and you have the north toroidal field where it starts. It starts at one point, circles around, and completes on the other side. Has nothing to do with land.
So you're saying there's a ring magnet around a magnet in the center?
I think that either we're living on a really big, funky shaped magnetic rock, or there could be a lot of ring magnets underneath this that would explain a lot of the anomalies out at sea when you get in the Pacific and Atlantic.
Well, the dual pole over flat Earth works according to, you know, my friend that worked out where the star positions should work. There's converging and diverging fields in the south as opposed to the north, which doesn't work with the globe or an AE map. And those are kind of like, you can observe those. They don't change. You could think of them as a reflection if you want to just like stay in the north and think it's an AE map. But when you get to the south, you have like actual GPS for those stars and they converge and diverge with the northern stars observably, consistently. They're real stars, it seems. It's not just a reflection or some kind of like parabolic thing or, you know, personal dome thing. It doesn't seem that works out. But they do look a lot like the northern stars because it's a crystalline structure. And just like a diamond, you would get a very similar pattern.
Been in the south yet. I'm looking forward to going and traveling and taking my P950 with me and getting shots of the sky, time lapses, and video. Right? But here's my problem. I've only ever lived in the north, so I've never seen any of the stuff that anyone that lives in the further south has ever seen. Never seen it once in my life. I always see the same pattern looking up.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably the reason a lot of the ancient maps have only one pole or seemingly like more like just one circular layout because they don't need to worry about the southern stars if they're not there. And there's a lot of southern stars you can see from the north. And in fact, if you get the Weems and Plath, like the most official company that makes all the nautical stuff for people that the professionals would order, they show that the stars would converge and diverge because when you work out your positions for the stars in relation to each other, they don't stay equidistant. They actually move and spread apart, provably, from using those. But you only use one side at a time. So they have a north on one side and the south on the other. So that wouldn't be very apparent. But what E1 has done is he's customized those wheels and they work with the star positions being in the south and the north and aligning with each other. So there was somebody in the chat that was criticizing that idea of the overlapping stars. Well, they don't actually overlap. The reason they overlap in his is so that you'll see the correct northern stars and southern stars at the same time, and they will be the same exact position, working like cogs in a wheel, because they have to include in the north wheel some of the southern stars that are visible, and they have them on that wheel as if they were going 360 degrees around you, but they don't. It's just they have to be represented on the wheel. So if you're plotting your position with stars that are in the southern field, you can still plot your position with that one wheel, but you have to be looking south to see those stars. You'll never see those stars looking north, and they don't go 360 degrees around you. So that's the confusion about the overlapping stars. The only ones that are actually in the north or the south that we use for navigation, the 56 whatever stars they use, that are the prominent stars that we know about, or that they use for navigation, those stay within the north or south, within that circle, that middle circle. That's the celestial equator. And then the southern or northern stars are represented on the outer circle, even though they don't go 360 degrees around the north or south, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not worried about all that because I know how all of that gets messed up. I explained this one to the Globers a while ago.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I thought you were talking about like couldn't be a south, like an actual south pole, because the magnetic declination doesn't show that. But you can actually follow the magnetic field lines. They go from north to south. There's not any confusion about that, right?
Right, but you're going in a straight line. At least I am across the top of the water. I don't know what somebody else is on to think they're bending across the water, but okay.
Yeah, if it works with two poles, and that's what I mean. Stellarium's not like they have to give you accurate information, even though they may say it's a globe or whatever, or make claims. They have to give you the accurate information and then say that the stars don't converge and diverge, even though they show you the stars converging and diverging. So
right,
it's kind of like that double talk.
The stars doing that, the further south you go when you're looking south, that's easily explained with funhouse mirrors. If you take several mirrors and stack them in different orientations to each other, you're probably going to get something like that.
Well, that illusion might occur with funhouse mirrors, or even on like the outer perimeters. Look north of north, you could get like a doubling of the field if it's an electromagnetic field. And you may get like an actual like illusion of a parabolic reflection. But if you have like an actual field of stars that diverge and converge consistently, I don't think that that's really something that you could just say is like a reflection or some kind of illusion. It's just the way that it works. I mean, those stars are there, and they wouldn't line up over the continents correctly with an AE map is the thing. That it just doesn't work.
The whole globe thing falls apart when I start asking questions that require containment.
Yeah, I've asked E1 about the firmament. He thinks that there is a firmament, but the sun's inside, not outside the firmament. And something he's always said before, and something I brought up, as far as like a firmament confirmation goes, the double rainbow seems to be like the only answer he could come up with for the way that it works, with the spacing being consistently apart and the reversing of the colors. It's like the sun is shining, is reflecting off the inside surface of the firmament, and then the spacing is the thickness of the firmament. And then when you did that, like the testing different surfaces of glass, you could get that same effect because it's reflecting the inside surface and the outside surface, which reverses the colors and makes it dimmer. And it's the same spacing, so it seems like that's a pretty good proof for some type of containment. Reflective
right, but
containment.
the fun thing comes to as to why the heat is in here, right? I ask you, how do you make a sustaining system where entropy isn't going to be a problem and the laws of thermodynamics aren't going to cause your animals or your creatures to have problems? And you put hot and cold in the same box, and there you go.
Yeah, I think it might be like an open system, but partially open, or somehow dynamically working with other systems through the water or through like exits, or I don't know if it's a real construct, like a physical construct. There could be ways of like making it so that the entropy doesn't like just break down over time. Is that what you're talking about? Like, because all systems, entropy gives you the idea that there's going to be an ending to everything because the energy is dissipating, or it's more like it's spreading out. But I think there's a cyclical nature to it, and it doesn't require like, I mean, energy can't be created or destroyed. That law has to be the same. So the second law really can't contradict the first law. And so the entropy has to be working with an open system to some degree, you would think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So say you got a cold box, right? And you put a heat source inside the cold box, or at least parts of the box are cold. There's your no need for open system. There's all of your thermodynamics all covered right there in one fell swoop. You just put both heat and cold inside the container, and you don't have to worry about any of that crap.
But doesn't entropy say that there's energy loss?
And see, this is where it gets fun. This is where I need a little bit of money to get up there, right? Because I could give you what I feel is the correct answer based on the science that we do have, but not everybody's going to like it. And the attributes of the materials, bro, it fits everything.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You'd have to like give me a breakdown on how that works.
Well, what absorbs energy? Take time. There's a couple of things that absorb energy.
Cold?
It's going to be on your periodic table, buddy.
Oh, you're talking about elements.
There's
Well, just get to
something
your
on
point.
there's something on the period.
You're cutting out a little bit. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's basically like a stereographic projection of a sphere. What you posted, Stargraze. In a way, yeah. When you kind of like that one I posted on the vertical wall on that one I posted that shows like the kind of two-pole electric field, which is when you project the coordinates of a sphere, like horizontally with the equator versus north to south. But Gatebreaker, what did you mean by that? That there's a Pac-Man? You mean some kind of like an infinitely looping effect or something?
Yeah. Basically, if you project a 3D sphere onto a 2D surface, not to say that that's what flat Earth is or our world is, that 3D sphere, you'd wrap your finger around it and there would be no corners. But if you project it onto a flat surface, you'll have corners. But if there were these 2D flatlanders that would go to the edge of the map, they would seamlessly continue to just walk and they'll basically be on the other side. Or that's how it'll appear to them anyway. But from a higher dimensional perspective, they're actually going around whatever the higher dimensional shape is. I saw this video on Instagram. I really wish I saved it, but I didn't. But it would be something similar to here, where it would be like our 3D world. It would be planar, as far as we're seeing it from the 3D flatlander per se. And you would be on one edge, and you continue walking, and you just magically be on the other edge. But from a higher dimensional perspective, you would be going around whatever the higher dimensional shape is. So there would be no actual Pac-Maning going on. It would just be how it's perceived in this dimension, or something along those lines. For this specific idea. Not saying.
Well, we kind of already have more than one dimension already. You know that.
I think the future of flat Earth is going to be dual pole and whatever comes out of that. Before that, everything's already been covered ad nauseum.
Well, dude, just think if the actual truth is a dual pole flat Earth, think about how effectively the controllers have actually orchestrated all of this, with the globe psyop and the AE map flat Earth psyop. Like, It's pretty good, dude. I mean, we talk about like the stuff they do. Like sometimes we rank it like 9/11 was maybe like an 8 or 9 out of 10 or whatever. You know, COVID maybe it was only like a 5 out of 10. Like people had, we like jokingly like 10 being the best, 0 being the worst of how well they pull off these events. Like the Charlie Kirk one, I think it was like a 7 or 8. It was like pretty good. But dude, like the Earth one, like if they got us with the globe and the AE map to catch all the flat earthers, and then now there's like 10 people discussing the dual pole basically on all of Earth. And if that's the truth, like I don't like to say things like, oh, tip my hat to them or whatever, because they're like psychopaths and they're deceivers. So it's not really like a tipping a hat scenario. But in terms of like the evil genius, you know, side of what they've pulled off, that's nuts, bro. They've basically allowed, from that perspective, if that's all the case, they allowed pretty much the whole world to pretty much talk about flat Earth and have a whole like, you know, movement as it were for like 10 years with a wrong model. And then, you know, did the 24-hour sun thing, which, I mean, it had some effect. It didn't really change everything, but I mean, it did make some people think it was fake and it split people and, you know, and it's not like that was a final thing that was needed to know the AE map was not correct. I mean, you know, there were a bunch of issues that have been for years, but nonetheless, it did kind of maybe push the hand of people to think about it more. But I'm just saying, dude, that's nuts. Like they actually, I mean, they did have to censor flat Earth in like 2019. They've probably had to have like certain like people in play, but I mean, that's some crazy wizardry, dude, to like have the globe deception going through world wars and all the craziness they did to get that in, create NASA with Nazis, lie about the globe for all these years, and then allow a flat earth movement to happen with a wrong model and wrong information. And then, you know what I mean? And then now there's like, you know, if it is a dual pole flat earth, and there's just like a very few that are even talking about it. Like that's a crazy move they pulled.
I want one of those vans.
Well, that's all from the perspective that that's the case. I mean, obviously, like, if it was the globe, that'd be a different. If it is an AE map, I mean, I'm not saying if as if I'm like on the fence. I'm just saying like, you know, just doing the hypotheticals for the scenarios.
Yeah, and wonder what the next deception's going to be. Well, we know that they have like a 2030 agenda, and some people say it's moved to 2033. Like they have a playbook, and you know they've got plans. I just don't know. Like that alien thing that's been on the cards for a while, and they were talking about it for a while. Just you know, aliens and spaceships and you know, what do they call the UAPs? They've been talking about it on the news like for a long time. You know, all these sightings.
Yep.
I
It is
can
possible.
barely hear you.
It is possible we could go that. It could go that route. But if we're gonna shift topics, we could. But Gatebreaker, can I just ask you real quick? Like, I mean, do you really think it is a globe though at all? Like, I mean, dude, everything you've seen, like, is it really adding up to you that it's a globe though? I know that you're like maybe kind of on the fence these days, or like not sure, and I understand it's a complex thing, but I just want to ask you that. I mean, do you really is that like even high in your probability that we're actually on a big ball the way they claim it?
Down at the from say from the ground to 100 kilometers, it could be either or for me for concave or globe. But for concave, like when it comes to like taking into consideration the other planets, I basically reached a wall where for me to get further, I need to like know math and do math and stuff, which I can't do like high like at that level.
Aren't all the other hold on? Aren't all the other planets that we can see with the telescope from the Earth? Aren't all the other planets globular? Right? Aren't they globes? Aren't they also globes?
Not necessarily. I mean, they're circular lights.
Well, okay. So what? Okay, that's interesting. So you don't believe that the the lights out in the sky are actually stars or planets or anything like that. You might think that they're completely different from that. That's a
I don't think you
question.
need to be some. I don't think you need to be some math wizard to know that, for example, our sun would have lost so much of its mass by now that the gravity equation wouldn't even be the same just over your lifetime.
No. It works. It completely works. Our sun is working as it should be right now. I mean,
Oh,
it has
hold on.
lost
You're
a lot
saying
of
it
mass.
works. Like, oh, it
It
just
has a
just
lot of
works.
lost. It has. Hold on. Can I finish what I was saying? It has lost a lot of mass since it started the reaction that is happening to cause it to be a sun. It has lost a huge amount of mass since then, but it still has quite a lot of mass left to burn up right now. So it's got quite a lot.
And
I
when
think
was that again? When was that again? That thing that made the sun happen?
about 4. I think it's like 3 to no. It would be probably like 4 billion years ago.
And you
when it
know,
when it
you
first
said
started to become sun.
KNOW. You know what it
No.
was back
I
then.
don't know that for certain. I'm
Yeah.
taking that from what scientists, like from what my readings are of the of how the sun became a thing. All right.
Hey,
So you
real
think there's
quick, before
another?
we get into theories, before we get into 4 billion-year-old theories, 4 billion-year-old theories, or whatever. Hey, Gio, on that last point, I wanted to jump in, but I didn't get to in time. As far as the dual pole and flat Earth movement and all that. Oh, by the way, Gatebreaker, I sent you some vids that might be interesting, especially to you. But yeah, like it's interesting that they didn't just, if they were going to let the AE map be the deception, the TFE thing forced the hand. If it wasn't E1 or if it wasn't somebody else that would come along and have to figure out like a two-pole flat Earth that actually works, somebody else would have done it if E didn't do it, or whoever else comes up with the right configuration, which is the only way it could be. If it's two poles and a flat Earth, and that's the only option that people have now in a way, for the sun going the right direction and everything. So they kind of forced that. Like they could have just like if they're it's kind of weird that they would do that, because it doesn't do anything to the fact that we know we're not on a ball now. That's never going to change.
Well, is it like
But
a
now people have to include the truth about the southern stars and the southern sun and all that. So it's kind of like they almost like wrecked their own psyop, or maybe they did it intentionally and they plan on telling us the truth about the two-pole flat Earth and then do the outer ponder psyop or whatever.
well,
But
I
you know what I'm
do live
saying? Like they kind of wrecked their own psyop. They wrecked the
I
AE
do
map.
live in the southern hemisphere, bro. Like,
Hold on, Ninja. Let me respond to that because this was kind of from a conversation from earlier.
all right,
Dude, well, I just want to respond. Dave, I hear you. That is all interesting. Now, okay, so from the perspective, the globe is a deception, and the AE map, flat earther thing is deception 2.0 with the ice wall and the one pole and that whole thing, right? And then the southern stars don't work, which they never have, but people kind of just let that pass, I guess. And then the 24 hours. Hold on,
they
bro.
do work.
Hey Ninja, we know that we can look up Wikipedia and like get the answers that you have. So you're not really bringing anything new unless you have something different than what we can look up ourselves. But
Yeah,
let Gio continue. Don't interrupt.
Yeah, I just temporarily muted you for a sec, bro, because I'm just wanting to get this out. This was from a conversation we were having earlier. If you want to get in and go on other stuff, but if you just jumped in and you're not, okay, just let me just finish what I was saying. I just temporarily muted you because I just want to finish without being interrupted. It won't be too long. I'm just trying to get through this. Okay, so, right. So if you have the globe, then you have the AE map, Deception 2.0, and it's linked to Flat Earther, right? It's linked to that Flat Earther term and everything. So they wanted to bundle everybody into Flat Earther, the term Flat Earther, and all of that. Now, from the perspective that that's also false, and then they kind of like there was like limited access to Antarctica, you know, through all these years. But then only like recently there's been more access, and okay, now we're actually, you know, and there's more like footage now and being able to actually see the 24-hour sun. Because dude, there was only like a few videos in 2015, 16. There was only like one in 15, one in 20, or a second one in 2016. It was so few, and those were pretty shady compared to what we have now, like those videos back then. So it's all pretty weird, like that was rolled out that way on purpose. I mean, this is a big topic, Dave. We could probably go on about it, but I will say, okay, so when you're like these evil dudes, like I think they have to make a choice at some point. You know what I mean? Like 9/11. Like, dude, I think like why did they do 9/11? You know what I mean? They had the world so deceived and tricked. They could start wars for other reasons. They don't. People say, "Oh, the Patriot Act." I mean, they really needed to do 9/11 just to make a Patriot Act. They can push anything they want through. You know what I mean? They can go to war. They can. So I mean, I even think like, why would they do 9/11? Like that showed their cards. You know, just even doing 9/11. Like, yeah, it was dramatic. Maybe they wanted to strike fear into the minds of people. My point is that I think when they do these things, there's like a calculated risk. You know, like they want to pull something off to get their control. It's just like an evil dude in like a movie. You know, it's like he needs to pull off certain things, you know, to pull off a certain, you know, end goal, but then it's going to have like collateral damage. So, I mean, that's just one thought. Like maybe like they were more willing to go with like the flat earther thing with the AE map and all that to then kind of try to bust it with the no 24-hour sun and then try to leave people. I mean, maybe they thought everyone would go back to the globe. Like maybe they figured like, oh, they're not going to figure out the actual two-pole system. So maybe they thought 80%, 90% would go back to the globe, and then there would just be very few. And I mean, dude, it's like everyone didn't go back to the globe, but I mean, everyone's still on AE or globe. So I mean, they're kind of still successful. Like what? Like I said, there's like 10 of us talking about dual pole, and then maybe there's another 50 or 100 that are open to it. But do you see what I'm saying? So I know it was long-winded, but I'm just saying like maybe like they did all that, but it's like it's kind of like they had to try to kill flat Earth to have this resurgence, like oh, Earth is flat, and then to try to nip it in the bud to try to then have everyone on the globe so they could pull off the alien deception or whatever's coming next.
Well, they could. I mean, that's what I was saying. Like they forced people that were calling themselves flat earthers and AE map flat Earth people or whatever. Like they take that away, then they're not going to start thinking they're on a globe again because that's impossible. You can't unrealize something. I don't think they're stupid enough to realize that people can't unrealize something. But you know they force the hand for whoever figures it out. I think E1 has enough of it figured out that you could call it a model that actually works. So it's already done in that way if it works, right? People have to actually verify it, and they can do that by just looking up GPs and Southern Stars stuff. Hold on, don't interrupt me. And but it's interesting because it forces the correct model, if that is the correct model, to be apparent and used, and everyone sees it now and accepts it. Even if you're a flat earther, you have to consider that now. And if it works with the GPs of the sun and the GPs of the stars, then I don't know what else you call a model. You know, I mean, you can have somebody in Australia have a star above them and see that it actually works with the wheels, turning in the cogs with the star above me in America, and I can say, okay, well, that's the way the stars move, opposite directions. I've confirmed this layout actually works. I mean, what else is a model? You know, I mean, you don't have to spend billions of dollars to confirm anything, and if you ever did, they might have ways of stopping that or making it seem like, or paying off the person that's heading that, and then they'll say they debunked flat Earth again or something. You know what I'm saying? Like the independent, like all you have to do is look at the GPs to see if they're correct with those wheels turning the way that GIF in the live chat works. You know, so it's just interesting that they forced it. But as far as 9/11 goes, I think that was kind of the learned helplessness type thing. Like you realize at first that wasn't what they told us, and then you realize that the controlled opposition was also part of the whole psyop, the 9/11 truth movement. Even with JFK, I'd say that it was the information war that they were creating intentionally and creating conspiracy theorists on purpose, not because it's damage, because they can handle the damage. They want the information war. They want the different perspectives and the discord like we're in right now to happen, so that they can have their conflations and their agents and influencers and everything manipulate the information and just play with that and control people in that way. You know, so it's like we're voluntary soldiers, like I've said before. We're on the front line of like a war that we didn't volunteer for knowingly, and we're kind of helping because it creates this a lot of discipline, a lot of dissidence at the same time because people don't know what to think.
No, I hear you on that. I hear you on the forcing the hand thing to a degree. I mean, yeah, like if they had like the AE map psyop and then they're going to run it with no 24-hour sun and then they're going to take flat earthers there and then try to then get everyone back on the globe. I know what you're saying. Like even if their goal was to try to like kill all of flat earth or whatever, it could have an unintended consequence that it's going to push the hand of people to figure it out beyond what the AE map, would kind of indicate.
Yeah, because if they were just AE mappers, then they wouldn't worry about it because they know that's wrong. So like, what? Why would they have to do the whole 20? If it was just an AE map, then they could just it could have gone on forever, and they would never worry about it because it's not correct. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like they ruined their own false dichotomy.
I see what you mean from that perspective. You're saying that if
Yeah.
they're running this no 24-hour sun, whatever, might as well just keep it that way.
Yeah.
Well, what if Duffy's not in on it though? Like, what if the controllers actually wanted to let it play out and we're expecting to just let the AE map be false? There is a 24-hour sun there, and then they just figured at some point, well, they'll figure it out. The flat earthers will figure it out. So I'm saying that's from the perspective that Duffy's not in on it. That he is just a dude who decided to do it because he's got his own like creationism things and globe ideas and whatever. That he wanted to make a little ruffle the feathers or whatever I'm just saying from the perspective that he's not in on it, then he's not really the controllers. He just happened to do this trip. And then we figured
well, the way the media followed suit, though, it doesn't really indicate it was just some guy that put this together. You know, it seemed like it was all coordinated to come out with the headlines, the flat earthers are wrong, and the guy that admits that it's a globe and all that, seemed very coordinated and in control with the controllers doing all that, too.
Well, there's two scenarios. One that Duffy's in on it and one that he's not. So if he's not, then he's just a dude. That perspective from what you were saying before could be that the controllers were planning to just leave the false flat earther map with the ice wall and the no 24-hour sun. They were planning just to let that linger, just like let it linger as long as it could. Because like you said, it's just wrong. And it'll be easy to prove wrong eventually by people measuring distances in the south or going to see the 24-hour sun or just whatever. So there is that idea if Duffy's not in on it, and Duffy just happened to kind of push it a little sooner, like it happened in 2024 instead of 2028 or 2031. You know what I mean? Now, but from the other scenario that Duffy's in on it, that from what we're talking about right now in this kind of this discussion, yeah, that would bring a different scenario. That would mean that they did kind of want to squash it more. And that would almost imply more of a theory that maybe like they want to get everyone on board for the fake alien invasion. That way, like the flat earthers are not very strong, to where if there's a fake alien invasion, there's not enough flat earthers to be like, no, it's fake. You know what I mean? And if there was a way that like now, if people say, because of the rhetoric that's out there, oh, the aliens are fake, people are gonna be like, no, that flat earther thing, that was already debunked with the 24-hour sun. You know what I'm saying? Like so there's that idea too, that they would have wanted to kind of try to bring it out now. And then they would have figured that, I mean, dude, like in terms of pushing the hand, how many people are even working on the dual pole, bro? Like I said, it's like 8 people. You know what I'm saying? It's hardly even 8 people.
Well, yeah,
like
that's about to change.
Really?
That's about to change because there's flat earthers that need answers, and they force the hand. Is what I'm saying. Like maybe. I mean, if we're considering all scenarios, and they plan on doing the alien thing regardless of what happens. I mean, if that's their plan, it would work better to tell us the truth about the flat earthers, about the flat Earth, with the correct model or close to the correct model as far as this land that we know of is concerned, and then they could do the outer ponder psyop as the aliens, which is much more believable for flat earthers and everybody that has common sense that realizes we're not on a globe eventually. So they could run with that as a way of having real time gods that they could say are good outer ponders, bad outer ponders. The thing I always talk about. I mean, I'm just saying it's interesting that they did force that if this dual pole flat Earth is the true model, they forced that to be apparent to more people that are flat earthers than where they could have just kept. And it does seem like the media did follow suit. I mean, all the normies that I knew heard about like the 24-hour sun debunking flat Earth and the flat earther that turned that they probably had in their back pocket from the start, in my opinion. And so that it seems like it's part of the operation. And I don't think this pastor just put all his money because he was so determined to make the Bible flat Earth go away or something. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that.
All right. Well, I hear you. I'm not necessarily like in myself, like 100% settled on really the whole like who Duffy is and his like actual who he is and all that. But I will say the media thing though, that doesn't have to necessarily be purposefully rolled out. Like from the perspective that Duffy's not an agent or not some kind of operative, he could have like, okay, from the perspective that, you know, they're going to saturate the internet with all kinds of AE maps and flat earther this and that with ice walls. And they're going to really push that as like the model. If people start questioning the globe and if they start thinking it's a flat earth or whatever, they're going to have that all locked and loaded with the no 24-hour sun. They're going to have a couple, you know, guys that are pushing that on YouTube videos and all that, etc. So, I mean, if that's the case, and then they were just figured like, well, eventually, since there's trips that they do let people go there, that eventually flat earthers will be able to either go there or figure out that there is a 24-hour sun there. But from the idea that Duffy is, well, quote unquote, genuine, meaning he's not like a full blown operative, I'm just saying there is a scenario in which like the controllers could have kind of monitored that, watched it happening, been like, oh, this Duffy guy is going to be taking these, you know, whatever, these guys there. And then they could have just, because it only takes them a minute to fire up the news reel, you know what I mean? To just put the headlines and grab the video cuts or whatever. So I'm just saying, I don't think that just because it was run in the media means that Duffy has to be an agent. That's all I'm maybe saying. I'm not saying Duffy.
Yeah, I can't prove that he was, obviously. It just seems like if I had to bet, I would bet that it was money coming from somewhere else besides his pocket. I mean, he was already in trouble, right? Maybe he got a leniency from doing part of this psyop. Who knows? But you know, it didn't do anything. You're not gonna kill flat Earth. I mean, flat Earth isn't an entity. It's just a realization that you're not on the globe. You know, so you're never gonna kill that. And they could have tried to kill it much better, in my opinion, along the way. You know, they didn't do that. I think they're holding on to it, whether they want to just gaslight us forever. But I think they're faking space poorly on purpose for some reason too.
Yeah, but it's deceiving most people. I don't know, man. I hear you on all this. It's pretty interesting, like, because I do hear you on the idea, like, why would they? Well, see, it all goes down to whether Duffy is kind of an operative or not. Because if he is, then it's like, okay, the controllers wanted that to happen. If he's not, then it would just be like the controllers would have been like almost pleasantly surprised, like, oh, wow, this guy popped up and he's going to pay for these flat earthers to go, and then it's going to happen earlier than we thought. Like maybe they thought it was going to happen 5 years from now, or, you know, when someone else went or whatever, you know. So because those trips are there, and it, you know, and then there's the community and so on. I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's interesting to think about. I mean, but I could see a scenario in which they figured that doing the TFE thing might be better than not doing it. Like I'm just saying, I could see a scenario in which they figured, hey, if we do this, you know, because look what it's done. It's got a bunch of people thinking TFE is fake. It's got a bunch of people thinking Witsit and all these guys are shills. It's got people fighting about it in that way. And then it's got even more people against the dual pole, really. So, I mean, you know, because of all that. And then the religious stuff, like people, I guess, more what they think it's the AE map with the religious side of things, and they're holding onto it for that reason. So I don't know, like if I'm just thinking like they did 9/11 for a reason. And I always think, why did they do that? You know, like why did they show their cards? They had people so deceived at that point. I even think, why did they do COVID even? Like they kind of had people, now it's like COVID exposed. It's like everything they do, they show their hand, you know? So I don't know, man. I mean, the thing is, it hasn't really pushed people. Sorry, but if like the whole community started looking into dual pole more so, that would be more, you know what I mean? But the fact that it's so few, it almost seems like maybe they figured maybe it's a calculated risk. Like, okay, how many people are going to be spurred into the dual pole? You know, and maybe they thought it was worth it to try to kill it, to have the rhetoric be, oh, look, there's 24-hour sun, therefore it can't be a flat Earth. Look, the AE map's gone. You guys don't have another map, you know, that kind of thing, which we've
I was going to say for all of these things, they may just be relying on knowing that most people don't have the time to care, and they can manipulate the masses overall. But if they're brilliant enough, you know, that they care about that, they don't just go for the lowest common denominator. And they care about the actual people paying attention and keeping track of things, which, you know, I mean, there's people that are higher up that maybe aren't in control, that are aware of these things, that aren't just like going along with what they hear. And so to keep those people, you know, within their control, they have to do something on another level, you know. And it doesn't matter to us, like what the masses think or how many people are looking into a certain thing. I mean, the numbers don't really matter. It's just a matter of what is true, right? And the people that are actually paying attention to everything that they can determine with common sense and observation and all the things that go into like determining the truth, like we try to do, So that's all that matters to us, I think. I mean, it doesn't matter about the numbers, how many people, or any of that, because in a black pill way, it doesn't really matter because they're gonna manipulate whatever the most people think by whatever they decide to do with their psyops and their subterfuge and influencers and such. But I think if you want to, maybe it's giving them too much credit, but they may worry about the people that are actually paying attention and actually know what's going on, and wanting to actually be able to influence them. And so if that's the case, then they could do like truth reveal about the flat Earth is all I'm saying. And this kind of forced the hand to make people realize that it's a dual pole flat Earth, and then they could do the outer ponders with the true model eventually, or sooner than later. Who knows?
Well, my opinion on that. I mean, it's all speculation in the realm of kind of guessing what their moves are. But I know that, you and I have kind of, I mean, not really had a strong difference of views on this, but I've also often kind of, obviously, when you share this, I often kind of I just don't agree that they would try to purposely tell everyone it's a flat Earth. I mean, I hear you though. Like, they do fake space ridiculously, like, obvious, and it almost seems like they are giving it away that, like, I guess there could be a scenario that they try to like throw NASA under the bus. They try to say like, oh, you guys, there was a corrupt government. The aliens came and they're saving you from this corrupt government that was lying to you about the globe. And although, where would the aliens come from? I mean, I guess I'm like open to all that. Like, I'm not like strongly against it, but I just generally don't resonate with it because it seems like they've done so much work to build up the globe model and the outer space story, and they got everyone on the globe, that I just don't see why they would just. I mean, other than that scenario I said, if they wanted to create like, throw NASA under the bus and say there was a corrupt government and the good guys are now coming in, they're going to tell you what the Earth really is or something. I mean, I hear you on some of those theories, but I guess I've just never thought they're going to do that, I guess, just and maybe intuitively.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm not saying I'm committed to that. I'm just saying if we're considering all options, that would be like the most like brilliant plan. And we can't just like rule it out because, that they've built up all of the ignorant masses to believe something. I mean, if they're relying on the ignorant masses forever, that'd be better. In fact, I mean, I hope they don't do the outer ponder, alien conversion thing, because that would be worse, because then it's like giving us the truth with the lies. If they keep the whole space psyop going, at least we know what they're lying about. Like, even a lot of flat earthers won't know what to think if there's outer ponders, because I mean, if I had to bet, I bet there are outer ponders. Their version of it may not be the true version, but that would be like a really useful way of doing the alien invasion thing, because they're like, then they could be ancient ancestors and we wouldn't think of them the same. Like, if it's an alien, you think of it as like a bug that you can squash and you don't have any like, care for it. But if it's like an ancient ancestor that's more advanced and wise, you could use it as benevolent outer ponders, like people that we need to like model our society after, or threatening outer ponders. And there's a war going on, and that's why the directed energy weapons that they've already been using are now being used, and it was always them, and all the excuses are there then. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do the alien invasion from space, then that kills the whole idea of going to space ever and all those hopes, because people are never going to see the world the same. They're going to they're going to cower in their basements if they think aliens have arrived here from another planet. Like, you've ruined like a lot of your whole like society psyop by introducing it that way. But if you do it as like tossable people from our past, even if it's not that version of the narrative, then makes it like, oh, okay, these are the people that we could be friends with, or watch out for the bad ones, and all those kind of things to play with that they could make up, even if some of that's true in real life that we'll never actually know.
And when you guys get up to a break point, I'd like to throw something in there to discuss, maybe when you're finished. Thank you.
Like a whole change of topic, or something about like what we were just talking about.
Yeah, what you're talking about, and in Reagan's term, President Reagan, when he was in office, yeah, it's something that they.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's kind of sets up this whole scenario, that we would all be unified if we knew that there was, another race of people from an extraterrestrial, like outside of this territory and or space, if you want to interpret it that way. But yeah, I mean, if it was outer ponders unifying us together in this part of the world, our breakaway society unifying, together to protect ourselves from the more advanced and ancient ancestors, would play into that same thing that they could have been setting up this whole time. And I always point out, even like the 2001 Disclosure Project, the guy that talks about the 57 different species living amongst us as we speak, and these are all like ex-Navy, military people that are saying they testify in front of Congress that aliens are real. Well, even he says the one thing they can't figure out, and this was part of the narrative then, because he says this, how could it be human like if they're supposed to look just like us? It doesn't make any sense that they would have a different atmosphere, come from a different planet, from light years away, and somehow just look like humans, right? And this also, one more thing, and I'll land the plane so you could talk. But Gio, the idea you brought up about if they were, aliens that look just like us, or outer ponders that look just like us, then that kind of sets up the whole like chipping thing. Like we can't tell the difference between real Earth people from this pond and the outer ponders. So therefore, everybody has to be chipped, or you might get zapped like an outer ponder, and that gives us, like no choice but to identify yourself as a real citizen of the Earth, of this pond, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it would give them all the play and all the different narratives to play with. That could be worse. So I hope they don't do that. It's not like I'm promoting that. I hope that happens. I'm saying it kind of all the play and all the different narratives to play with. That could be worse. So I hope they don't do that. It's not like I'm promoting that. I hope that happens. I'm saying it kind of like leads toward maybe the worst case scenario, because if they just keep going with the space psyop, we can laugh at them until our lives are over at least, and people will be doing that forever. Now that that people realize they're not on a ball spinning, flying through space.
Yeah, absolutely. If you
Yeah, I
were
hear
directing
you.
that for Geo, I'd rather hear what Geo was going to say first.
There could
Like
still be,
before I was.
well, couldn't there be aliens from another planet that are human-like though? But I hear what you're saying. If that would be like a reason to make it outer ponders, just because they're like us, kind of thing.
Yeah, the guy from the Disclosure Project, like specifically said the one thing scientists can't figure out is why they would look exactly like us and be from another planet. Like that just doesn't add up, And I guess common sense wise, it doesn't either. That you would think that it would just be like another, like exactly like us from light years away. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. They could just claim that, and people would believe it anyway. So I'm not saying that they're definitely going to do the outer ponder thing. I'm just saying that's something that's on the table as, the most dastardly brilliant thing that they might even be planning. And I've said it a few times, and there's people that have confirmed it to me just because they think they have insider knowledge. And a long time ago, somebody said, yeah, that's the plan. That's why they're allowing flat Earth, because eventually they're going to use the idea of the outer ponders, which people get to once you realize it's flat Earth. You use the same kind of deduction like people have done with, we couldn't be the only planet with life. There must be alien worlds. That same kind of deduction. Like we can't be the only pond. I mean, if this is a flat Earth, that's one of the first things I thought of is other civilizations or more land or more people. Like that kind of seems like something people would have to consider seriously as soon as you realize it's not what they told us.
Yeah, I hear you.
I,
I just don't see any indication that they want flat Earth out there. Like they censored it in 2019. They seem to always just have it be full of ridicule. Like if they were gonna try to change it from the whole globe, like on a more massive level, like a mainstream level, and then have some whole event happen where they come out with like the Earth is actually flat. It just seems like they would have let it roll, whereas they've really like censored it more than anything, and they just keep it smashed full of ridicule, and you know what I'm saying. But I know
Hope
other.
you're right. I hope you're right that they don't try to tell us the truth, because it's not going to be the real truth. It's going to be their version of flat Earth. And that'd be worse than just lying about it directly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hope that they try to tell us it's flat. That would be the worst thing, because it won't be
It
the
is an
truth.
in,
It'll be
it
stuff
is
we
an
can't prove
interesting
to ourselves.
segue. It's an interesting segue, right? Because like the TFE thing was like an easy sidestep, right? Like you've got the majority of the community that thought, that you've got the AE map, single pole, ice wall on the outside. Easy way for them to just sidestep and be like, now what? No pun intended, is to go out there knowing it's a dual pole and then just completely kind of fuck up that model real quick. But okay, now flash forward, they're here. It is quite intriguing to think what would be the response to dual pole. Like how, a rebuttal to that is going to have to just either, like you guys are saying, either be a complete no way, that's absolutely crazy, or they may just lay back. I mean, because to be honest, the work is a little bit against us, right? Because the TFE was such an easy sidestep, because it's like, okay, maybe Antarctica really is a continent. It's accessible. They can get there. They can go there, and then that throws your perspective off. But but hear me out real quick. It was really easy for us to get to that point, right? Because we had imagery. Like if you go look at the World Health Organization or the UN, all those logos were kind of using that AE flat map. And so now we really have our work cut out for us in bringing forth a brand new map that nobody's ever seen. That's a really hard thing to get past, because now it's like, now you have to play against the imagination and the subconscious, because that's part of their tool and their agenda for so long, is this subconscious programming nonstop. So it is a really interesting turn point right now to kind of see on both sides of the spectrum where things are going to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think they, even before, going down to Antarctica, if that's truly what happened, I think they were banking on all of these, like you said, people's official logos or government entity logos are two-dimensional, right? They're flat. When people hear flat Earth, they're like, okay, flat map. If you showed them an AE map, that's all they would go off of. They wouldn't think in 3D terms. And a lot of people, it's already been proven that they don't have the capability to see in their mind's eye how a transition between seasons would look, right? Of a sun and moon traveling up and down the firmament, like it gets thinner as it gets to the north and widens out. Some people even wouldn't think about speeds of what how everyone sees in their position of zenith, like what I mean. They're timing it out through the day, or even seasons. Like you guys see what I'm saying, right? That not everyone would see it how we see it, right? As a three-dimensional thing that could be viable, right? If explained in the right way to people. And I think they were banking on that for TFE, and then post TFE, just like every other event, that they're kicking the can down the road, get it a little further along until they can come up, with how they're going to make the next play work in their 2030 agenda, right? And they're going to either continue to do that, or if something happens to where they're going to have to jump the gun because of something we bring to the public's attention, maybe it forces their hand, or if they're just going to, not really give a shit who finds out, because it always happens. And when people do find out the truth, that it happens in increments instead of like a mass awakening, right? But to catch up to where you guys are now in the conversation, I do think personally that I think that like they're just gonna have to. I'm trying to say this without saying it wrong. I think the people that make these kind of major decisions for society, as far as I understand it, it's purely military. There's no more like politicians. That's just the gag show, the puppet show, right? The political front. And so you guys, I hope y'all understand that gaming and military are the only two big things that they have left to as far as a continuance, other than the false flag alien thing. So those would be two other regions I would keep a close eye on if I were y'all, like gaming technology and military, because the new technology, the new mental weaponry, so this biodigital convergence is already here, but there's only certain ways they can fool the rest of the people, and that's headsets and the stuff they've been spraying from the sky. That's going to be the catalyst for men's hearts to fail them when they see what's coming out of the sky, because it's going to be so realistic that they're going to be able to take everybody out, I think. But
Yeah, and they could do like the whole return of Jesus. You know, like people talk about like
yes,
space Jesus, or but like it could be like Jesus the outer ponder from like a race that lives 3 times as long, or they're immortal. But
right.
Geo, like let's just say this scenario, like let's say
And
the dual
just one thing, I'm
pole
gonna
flat
finish.
Earth,
Please
like say,
let me finish. Let me finish. One thing, I'm gonna finish.
okay.
Okay, so
Bro,
what
come
they've
on,
been
man.
pumping in the sky. Just look,
Bro,
I'm gonna make it quick. I promise. I
please,
promise. I promise.
please
It's
don't.
important. It's important.
It's not.
It's important. Well,
You just
they're
monologued for
gonna.
a really long time. I was ready to hear what
I
Dave was
know.
about to
I,
say.
But real
I'm gonna
quick,
land it here.
Geo.
I promise. Everything
All
they're
right, say it real
spraying,
quick.
everything they're spraying is it's superconducting, right? And it's plasmonic. Okay, so just keep that in mind. They're sentient. It's sentient. So it's gonna
Yeah, that
pull
helps
stuff
with the
through.
blue beam. We get it. It makes the
All
screen
right.
available so people can
Thank you.
see the illusion we want to create. Okay. So Geo, the what do you think would happen? Like, say the scenario is like the dual pole is figured out, and like E1's thing or somebody else's thing that refines that idea, and it's provable, and everybody can see that it has to be a dual pole, and it actually works with the actual model, and it's perfect, and anybody can see it. Then what would happen, or like what would happen if everyone starts catching on and seeing that there's an actual model that works with the flat Earth with dual pole? What do you think they would do if that were the case? What do you think the controllers would do with that?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, wouldn't it have to be like verified though? Like, are people just
No, it'd
gonna?
be verified by anybody that lives in one country, sees a star above them, sees the sun moving. They check the GPS, they check with somebody in the north, and all that's just the model. I mean, it just works, right? It's not like you'd have to spend billions of dollars to verify that. You can just look at the stars and confirm it.
Well, I mean, right now, dude, there's not even like, I mean, in terms of like AE map flat earthers, it seems like most are not open to it. The globe is like the top of their ridicule list. So even if it was all
No, I'm
solved,
saying
ready to go, who's even gonna like? There's only like I said, dude, there's about 10 people talking about it, and maybe 50 or 100 that are open minded to it at most. But
so
I
I'm
guess
saying like
like,
all the flat earthers get on board. There's millions of people now on board, right? Like seeing that the dual pole model that works with the GPS and all that works. Then what would they do if millions of people, all the millions of flat earthers, switch to dual pole because they realize that's the way it is? Then what would they do?
I don't know. It's a good question. You're saying if it was really spreading, like if it's
Yeah,
true,
like it
and
actually,
it's spreading.
that people confirm it, and even any normie can be convinced in one conversation that it works because that's the only way it could work. Like the converging and
I would.
diverging star trails are like, a killer for the globe, and everyone realizes it. Then what do? I'm just kind of setting you up to like get to the point where like you might say, well, yeah, then maybe they will do the outer ponder thing, maybe, or
Well,
whatever, flip like and brush the pieces off the board and do a reset, or what I'm saying, like that kind of.
well, they can pretty easily just censor it, though. I mean, they censored all of Flat Earth back in 2019, and it made it to where new people couldn't even find anything good on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could just censor it.
But that would be the best case
I would
scenario,
say they
really,
would
though,
have
right?
to.
Hold on, wait, RG, don't start in again, please. I wanted to go back and forth with Gio because I have to go in a minute. But
Oh,
you know what I'm
okay.
saying? Like, but if that were the case, that would be the best case scenarios. They just because they can't really stop the information after that. Millions of people realize it's a dual pole flat Earth. But instead of accepting it, which would actually be worse because then they would have to make their version of it with the whole outer ponder weird shit or whatever they try to do. Like their version of it is going to be like mixed with a bunch of like propaganda and lies that they add into it to keep people controlled. But if it's just millions of people actually realizing the truth and they can't take that away, it'd almost be better because it'll just spread, for people that just know and they don't have to worry about what the government says or the media says because that's never going to be anything but what they want it to be. You know what I'm saying? It's almost better if they try to censor it and they can only do so much with that. And then people just realize the truth. It's not like forcing them to tell us the truth is ever going to do us any good because they'll give us that version of the truth with whatever they decide to add into it that we can't prove or disprove. And people just go along with and they're like, okay, great, it's flat earth, and they'll have like, everybody knows it's a flat earth, but it's their version that people are happy about rather than the true version, which is kind of the way it needs to be. Like it's only authentic if it's censored in a way.
Yeah, I mean, this could open up. I hear what you're saying, but this could open up a whole nother discussion because, I mean, dude, I think what really is needed is to do like physical, tangible tests of like of curvature not existing, and then that needs to be like done with millions of dollars and a whole group of people, and then that needs to be submitted to like the scientific community at large, and then some of them are going to deny it just because of what it implies, but then some of them will actually look into it to actually cause like an actual real paradigm shift. So like I just don't know if like even flat earth in and of itself, even outside of a model, a lot of these globe guys, they're like, where's your map, where's your model? Dude, if we had the correct map and model right now and we posted it, it wouldn't mean anything to them. They would just go on another stream of ridicule. It's not like they'd be like, oh, thank you so
I'm
much for the
saying,
right map
yeah,
and model. Oh,
exactly.
thank
That's what
you,
I'm
God.
saying. They're
I'm
gonna
never gonna
deny
do
it, no
that.
matter how true it is, no matter how
Right.
accurate it is. They're gonna deny it. So why do we care what they think? Why do we care what the masses believe? Because they're just dumb anyway. Like, why play to the lowest common denominator, which is the scientific community, the scientific, people that are getting their peer reviewed stuff is the lowest common denominator. So why appeal to them or worry about what they think? Because they're actually the perfect specimen that just goes along with the kinematics and the reverse engineered side of it. And why? I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't try to change the paradigm shift, but the paradigm shift's already happened. I mean, people realize we're not on a globe. Like, millions of people realize that already. So it's already happened. Whether like the majority of people on the known Earth agree with that doesn't create the paradigm shift. I mean, it's already happened. We do not.
Right.
We'll never think we're on a globe again.
Right, but the thing is it's not going to take as much money as you think to give the evidence that we would need for anyone to go, huh, there's two options. Which one is it?
Well, yeah, if you're talking about anyone, like just like the regular dumb, person that goes to work and doesn't really care, but has to be forced to take a choice. They'll be manipulated by whatever propaganda the media says anyway. So why worry about what they think?
Well, you have to some degree, but the thing is you're attacking the whole problem incorrectly. You can't go after the zealots. The zealots will defend themselves. You have to go after their king and prove their king a false king, and then they'll attack their own king.
I don't think anything is necessary. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that like killing anybody or forcing anybody to see something is necessarily the right way to go. I mean, it's just like one at a time. It's already happened. We all realize we're not on a globe, so the paradigm shift happened, and it's just a matter of time before it's just laughed at. And they make it laughed at on purpose. Is the thing is why I think that they might plan on revealing it, because I mean, anybody that looks at this bloopers from the ISS, they can't really believe it. They may think, oh well, maybe it's not real, maybe it's real, but whatever. Like, there's no one that really totally believes it when they're doing such a bad job on purpose, I would think.
Yeah, but walk with me for a second though here, New Perspective. What you're talking about is massive fraud. Right? On a level that changed the entire dynamic, not only of the country, but the structure of the country and how those people of that country operated. A huge psychological operation, which by all intents and purposes is a war crime. These guys are criminals, and the punishment for the war crimes that they've committed against a sovereign nation, the minimum is death.
Well, that's assuming that they, if they make the game board fictional, and all of everything from there down is fictional, and there's legal fiction, and it's just the way the game's played, and the people that are in control can just be like treating it as a game rather than reality, and they don't have to like account for anything. I mean, that who's going to ever take them to court based on what? I mean, it's not like
slow
it's a
slow
wink and a
down,
nod.
man. Yeah, but slow down. So they're a corporation, right? You have commercial fraud, you have commercial theft, you have fraud with the intent to steal trillions, millions of dollars a day out of what would have been your health care, your subsidies for your new families, literally anything and everything that would have made your country better. You could have put that money into the farms and lowered all the prices of all the goods on the shelf.
Yeah, but who's gonna determine whether it, where the money came from and where it went with their black ops programs that we're not privy to? They can have secrets, rightly so, because of the national security, and they could just pour the money wherever they want. But they're pouring it into the space thing, and then they can have a justification for that. That's on a need to know basis, and it's just for the protection of the whole. Like we're doing, like maybe they're doing some kind of like outer ponder explorations or defense against the outer ponders that for the national security and the psychological good of everyone, they justify it. I mean, it could be real, it could be just like another made up story, but they can justify anything they want for the national security, and you can't really put them on trial for that.
Look, you absolutely can. America was absolutely established on that premise that you could put somebody on trial by yourself. It's called being a man, a free man.
It would be nice if it worked that way. I'm not sure it does, though. Honestly.
Pick up your state's constitution if they haven't burned them all. There's more than one for each state, right? The original and then each amendment is a new constitution. So you have to read them all to make sense of it, or at least the first one.
Yeah, all that information, and you're right about a lot of the stuff that's technically right with the law and everything, and then there's the whole idea that we're not even full citizens, and they went along after the Civil War with making us the 3/5 citizens that they only intended for the Negro Americans, and that everyone born after that isn't even protected by the first 8 amendments of the Constitution, and most people aren't going to do the work, as to figure that out, and they could just continue on business as usual and not really worry about anybody really having the power to do what you're talking about.
Well, look, now you understand why they took civics out of school, basically across the country. If you don't know what your role is as a citizen of a country or state, at the very least, the city and the county, oh my God, you don't understand how to keep the checks and balances going, and you don't understand your authority over those people, then look at what happens. The barn is being run by the cows and the pigs and the chickens instead of the farmer. We're the farmers.
They love that. They love that. Right, exactly. That they know that, and I don't know what you're going to do to change that unless they gave you a media platform that could actually inform people on a mass scale that they didn't censor or vary what's up.
Instead of trying to create problems, man, think around the problem. It doesn't take that many people to solve these solutions. You don't need everyone in mass. Most people will follow along with the most intelligent as long as you protect them. So you're going to have to put some of the most brutal people around that guy and keep a group of people in between him and them to keep him shielded. And the brutal people are going to do what they do. They're going to rip bad guys to pieces.
It'd be great if people follow along with most intelligent, but they don't let the most intelligent be heard, as you know. So, but I gotta go. We'll talk. I'll come back in.
Yep. But this is why we were supposed to have a militia in every state, so that what New Perspective here was talking about didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely.